just started the live stream. Go ahead, Cyclone.
Thanks, Julio, and thank you, Corvo, for having us over again. We've had some good events in the past, and we always appreciate you reaching out. This is the best conversation and subject to be discussing on the Earth, in our opinion. So we appreciate it, and we know it's a sensitive subject for some, but it's a gold mine of information, and it's a great thing to get into. So I would just kind of like to frame it beforehand with a bit of introductory comments. So if you're new to this and you've not really looked into the flat Earth before, you're probably going to have a few ideas in your head about what you think we're talking about here. Primarily a disk in space, like a disk Earth floating around a heliocentric solar system. That's not what anyone's saying. That's not what we're saying. That's the images that are put out and the idea that is put out in the mainstream to make curious minds turn away from the topic because you dismiss it as obviously ridiculous. So that's not actually what we're saying. But, there's a lot that you can get into in terms of what we actually are saying. So that's what we're going to try and focus on. It's going to no doubt have some points of debate in it. And I would just say pay attention to who is presenting empirical evidence, observation, and data, and who is presenting ideas, concepts, theories, right? Another thing I would say is that it might sound like a ridiculous idea, and it sounded ridiculous to most of us when we first heard about it. But in reality, this is what we experience in our everyday lives. It's all we ever experience, which is that the Earth is a flat and motionless Earth, as far as we can tell. So that's not to say that that's the beginning and end of the question, but it is where you start if you're honestly wanting to figure out where you live. Another thing I would say is come at this from an open-minded position and understand that the more valuable thing to do here is not to try and argue with a concept that you don't necessarily like the sound of, but you don't really know that much about, but rather interrogate your belief in a globe, right? Which is what we all ended up having to do. Most of us got into this trying to prove the globe and debunk flat Earth. So it's more useful for you to think, right, what is it that makes me believe that what I live on is a spinning ball in a vacuum? And then raise those points to us and say, okay, I think I live on a ball because this. And then we'll give you our explanation as to why that isn't actually proof that we live on a spinning ball. That's what a lot of this comes down to. So it's more worthwhile for you to ask the questions about what you believe and how they pertain to the globe than it is to kind of try and argue against a concept that you maybe don't fully understand. But we're looking forward to taking your questions. And if you follow the text chat alongside, we'll be posting articles, images, and information to go along with what we're saying. So we'll try and keep that relatively on topic if we can, guys. And yeah, we look forward to taking your questions. So unless any other flat earther wants to kind of jump in with some more intro remarks, then we can get going.
Let's begin with a simple question. Why is the Earth not a globe? I'll just start off the discussion with that.
Okay, well, I'd say the simplest answer to that is that a globe requires physical curvature of the surface, right? A ball requires physically a necessity that the surface is curving at a certain rate. NASA and the mainstream give us this rate, approximately 8 inches per mile square, based on a ball with a radius of 3,959 miles. That's the official story, so it necessitates physical curvature. So this is what people are testing. This is the crux of the whole discussion. If Earth is a ball, if the stories about the satellites going into space, going to the moon, if the stories about any of it, gravity, everything that you think proves a ball, if any of those are true, then it necessitates physical curvature of the surface. And people are doing long distance observations, laser tests, radio wave tests, to test the convexity or lack thereof of the surface over bodies of water, salt flats, things like that. And they're finding no curvature. There has to be curvature of a very specific rate for the story to be true, and there's none when physically tested. We can see too far Our line of sight is too far for there to be a curve going down and away from us at a certain rate, like they tell us. So this is the craziest thing about this subject. If you're into conspiracies and you've looked at things like 9/11, the moon landing, JFK, all this kind of stuff, flat Earth sounds like the most ridiculous, but it is the one with all of the evidence that you can actually verify. That's the difference. You can test this yourself once you understand the globe model, but it requires actually understanding the globe model to a depth that you don't get taught in school. None of us are taught what we're going to talk about tonight in school for the most part. Not in this detail. And you need to know that detail to be able to test it. So it's now being tested. It was being tested in the 1800s and the 1900s as well, but again, they were kind of just shouted down. But yeah, there's no curvature. No curve, no ball. Cannot be a globe. Physically cannot be. So that's the main argument, I would say, in terms of empirical, verifiable. But I mean, it's endless. You can get into motion of the Earth. We can get into the vacuum of space and gas pressure requiring a container. Physical reality and natural law debunk the globe model. And it's just about going and learning those things, learning the globe model in detail, what its actual claims are, claims which are physically essential to the story. And they're nowhere to be found in reality. And reality actually contradicts them directly. So it's a crazy pill to swallow, but that is what you'll find if you honestly go looking at the evidence. Right. So it's like you'll be taught like discursive writing and debate in school, and they'll tell you need to know both sides of an argument. Right? We're only taught one. We're only taught the heliocentric globe model. We were taught nothing about a geocentric flat Earth model, which has been believed for the majority of all of human history and was still widely debated between the best scientists in the 1800s and 1900s, contemporaries of Einstein. They were still debating heliocentrism and geocentrism because the reality is our observed worldview is geocentric. What we see is that the sun is moving, not that we're moving. So there is a positive burden of proof on the side saying, okay, I know we don't see us moving and we only see the sun moving, but in reality, we're moving as well, right? We're the ones moving, causing that apparent moving sun. Okay, cool story. What's the evidence? And this is where it falls short. And you believe, like all of us did, that well, someone's done it, someone's figured it out, someone's done some test somewhere at some time, and has proven this because everyone's saying it. This is what our world is currently thinking. But you haven't actually looked. You haven't actually checked. You're just presuming someone has. Well, therein lies the rub. They haven't. No one has. No one ever did. It was always an assumption. It was always a model created by Copernicus at the behest of the Catholic Church, saying, come on, Copernicus, give us the math for how this observation could be possible on a spinning ball. And Copernicus was like, oh, I don't know about that. They'll eat me alive. I don't want to do it. But they pushed him. And they actually published it for him. And he even said himself, it isn't necessary that this is true. It isn't necessary that I even believe it. But this is how it could theoretically work on a spinning ball. And he did the math. Right? That's not proving anything. That's creating a theoretical model and backwards engineering from existing observation. So this is a lot of stuff to get into, but I would implore you to think with an open mind and ask questions about the globe that you currently believe in, right? Because that's how you learn, right? It's not going to do you much good to challenge an idea that you don't believe in, but it might do you some good to really interrogate your own beliefs and figure out what the evidence is for them. So yeah, let's do some questions with some new people, unless anyone else wants to jump in from the far side.
I think I saw a nice warm dad you might have lit up. Do you have a question?
Oh, no, sorry. I have my push-to-talk key is mapped to something else also.
All right, it's fine. So any questions, any challenges? I'll go ahead, God420.
For our drift that we all major. including me with my gyroscope.
Your microphone is barely audible.
Coming
Like, I don't know, there's too
very
much
low.
static.
Yeah, it's very low. Sorry,
Can you
Corvo,
explain the
just quickly-
15 degree per hour drift that all of our
there we go.
gyroscopes pick up? All of them.
Sorry, Corvo, just quickly. Could you give Indio perms now he's here?
I got you.
Okay, so who was with the question there? Who was speaking to?
15 degrees.
The 15
Yeah.
degree per hour drift.
Drift of what?
Explain it. The rotating globe that we are on. Explain the 15 degree per hour drift on a flat Earth.
Wait. The rotating globe that you're on.
Correct. It has the 15 degree
Okay.
per hour drift. And
So
it's
you-
not the
so-
1,000 mile an hour silliness. It's 15
So the
degrees per
land,
hour.
the globe that you're on, you're saying is rotating.
Once in 24 hours.
Okay, so where do you detect the Earth to be rotating?
All of my gyroscopes. All of
Your
my pendulum
gyroscope?
gears. All of my
Pendulums?
testing gear will pick it
No,
up.
we're talking about the Earth rotating.
You can pick that up using mechanical means as well.
Okay, how do you pick it up using mechanical means?
An ultra low friction gyroscope.
Right, so the gyroscope's moving.
Didn't understand.
So how do you link that to the Earth moving exactly?
Only true explanation, period.
Oh, so because you say it's the only true explanation, you don't have to provide any evidence for a causal link. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I could bring up the readings for the scopes and stuff if you need me to, but you know.
But you're assuming this motion. What's that assumption based on exactly?
So high altitude observation of the sun and the planets and the stars.
So you see the sun moving, right? So how is that telling you anything about the Earth moving?
They are all rotating.
Right. Okay. But the Earth is not. Right.
It's just too obvious that the rotation is
that
there.
they're rotating. Okay, so they're rotating. How do you get to the bit where you're rotating?
This all up to some argument.
Is that an
Fine.
assumption?
So it's an assumption. Just
Thank
out of
you.
kind of nowhere.
Measured evidence from my own personal equipment proves to me that it is rotating.
But you just said it's
tested
because
here.
the sun and the stars are moving. But that's just the sun and the stars moving. I'm asking what makes you think that you're the one moving?
My gyroscopes, like I said at the beginning, I'll repeat myself. I don't mind being a broken record.
Okay, so it's an assumption that you're moving.
Yes.
Affirming the consequence.
Yeah, that's a logical fallacy.
Can I just get in here as well? Just
Yeah,
quickly,
go for
do
it.
you have a demonstration of this?
Demonstration?
Yeah.
Let me get yourself off this fucking push to talk.
Language, bro. Chill.
No need to get angry.
Relax.
There. Now I'm off push to talk. I don't have to keep pressing keys.
Is that better?
But how do I measure it? I just use my gyroscopes. You can actually measure their drift. You can
Wasn't what I
measure-
asked.
I don't know how to explain it to you. I'm not a scientist.
I'm not asking for an explanation.
Whatever.
I was asking for a demonstration. You either have one or you don't.
So if we, do you guys feel like you want to take a question from chat?
I was wondering if you could actually answer my question because I don't feel
Yeah,
like we've finished that yet.
I'd like to finish this guy.
God 420, because you've made a claim there. I was wondering if you have a demonstration for that.
Well, I can set up and do some video streaming and show some gyroscopes in operation, but you're not going to see much except for a change in angle over the course of an hour. You'll see a drift of 15 degrees.
But that is the claim that you've made that I'm asking for a demonstration of.
I am.
You understand?
I'll do that if I have to, but we'll be here 1 hour to watch it drift.
Sounds
look, dude,
good.
If you don't have it, I'm not going to judge you. I'm not like saying if you don't have it, then you're wrong. I'm not
He
saying
doesn't
that.
have it. Listen, he doesn't have it.
I know he doesn't, but
Okay, so
I'm asking
let me,
for it anyway.
let me tell you why he doesn't have it, and this is easy to demonstrate. Because you would only measure a 15-degree drift at one of the poles. Are you at the North or South Pole?
Wrong.
You're going to measure 15 degrees, and you're going to measure Okay, listen. You want me to tell you the formula? Because you're not going to measure a 15-degree per hour drift unless you're at one of the poles. You would need a 3-axis gyro, and you would measure a cumulative. If you summed all 3 axes, then you would measure a 15-degree per hour drift. But you said you had a regular gyro, regular mechanical gyro.
I also have the aeronautic gyros that they use for aircraft.
Yeah, and those are single-axis gyros.
No.
Yeah.
It's for the ones on the main.
They use multiple gyros. They use multiple gyros in the aircraft.
Yes.
And in fact, they're called an attitude indicator.
No, I'm not talking about the indicator. I'm looking at the gyro.
The attitude indicator is the gyro, and the gyro isn't the purpose of it. Nuh-uh is not a reputation. Nuh-uh. Do you want me to just pull up do you want me to pull up a PDF that has all this, that has the schematic for the attitude indicator for an aircraft? Do I really have to do this?
I don't care about the attitude indicator.
The attitude indicator is what has the gyro, dude.
Ignore me then. Talk over me.
The attitude indicator is your refutation is nuh-uh. Okay? That is what your nuh-uh. Listen, the fact is, the attitude indicator is the device in the airplane which has the gyro, and the purpose of the gyro is to damp the sway of the device.
Wrong.
Okay?
Nuh-uh. I know exactly where it is. It is down in the belly of the plane.
So who cares?
In the control room.
So may I try to move this discussion into more productive direction?
Listen, I'd like a concession. I'd like a concession that he never actually did this test, because to measure 15 degrees per hour on a single axis, you would have to be at a pole. This is not debatable. This is objectively true.
Agreed.
Objectively true. You can.
So if you're at 45 latitude, you're going to measure a 15 degree. Listen, so if you're at 45 latitude, you're going to measure a 15-degree per hour drift on a single axis.
Do you realize how equatorial telescope mounts work?
Yes.
Okay. You can measure that drift throughout the entire surface of this planet, including the equators and the poles.
Do you have to correct for latitude? Yes or no? You have to program it for latitude.
Oh my God! Talk over me. Fuck it. Talk to someone else.
Answer the question. Yes,
you're
it's a yes or no question.
Listen.
May I?
You guys are both trying to lie, and that's why I'm acting like this, because you're both trying to lie.
It is
like I've been doing this for 4 years, dude. I know how all these devices work.
Argument. That is
because you're lying.
Yeah, well, listen. I mean, God 420 can't get to the demonstration, which he would then have to beg the question of. So yeah, I think we can probably move on.
Okay, so we will sit. I will get the display set up, and we're going to sit for 1 hour, and you can watch the machine physically fucking drift.
Yeah, you won't do shit. You won't do shit.
So listen, don't move the goalpost. You said 15 degree per hour drift is what you've already measured.
Right. So we'll set for 1 hour, and you can watch it drift 15 degrees. Okay,
let's do this.
Camera, if we have to.
Yeah, okay, go
let's
for
do
it.
This.
Set it up, God. Right, set it up.
Let's do this, dude. Listen, I'm going to laugh, dude. When you measure 7.3 degree drift because you're at something like 43 latitude, I'm going to laugh at you.
Wrong.
May I please interject
some more?
Guys, let's let Corvo get in here.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
I mean, we can at later time do a live stream with God 420 if we guys are interested.
How about I post citations? Will that suffice, and we can just end this? I'll just post citations.
We can both post citations. So I think I have a question by King of Kings, who have a question for the flat earthers. If the curvature of the globe is 8 inches per mile of distance, wouldn't the difference be...
Can I stop you right there? Per mile is a slope. No one is claiming to live on a slope, are they?
Well, hold on. Let me finish the question.
Yeah, but the question is already wrong, so it needs to be correct.
So let me finish it. I'm just reading it. Yeah, the guy isn't talking.
Okay, but the question is already wrong. That's the point.
Yeah, we'll correct him and say it's 8 inches per mile squared, not 8 inches per mile.
That's a parabola.
Okay, 8 inches per mile squared. wouldn't the difference be difficult to detect with just your eyes? To me, it's like trying to spot a ruler a mile away and be able to see it move 8 inches to demonstrate the difference in position.
Yes, but then over 10 miles, they tell us that would add up to around 67 feet of drop, which is measurable. So someone in human history would have measured this physical drop. We're not saying that you should just eyeball it and then make your decision. This is why people are doing point-to-point tests over a distance and comparing it to the rate that the globe model does predict. God, I know you're upset. I know you're upset. I know you're upset, but you're just going to have to chill. We gave you your chance, and you were going to go and set up your gyroscope that you were then going to say, I'm claiming that's Earth's rotation. And we were going to say, okay, how do you link that? And you'd say, well, just because we know. Right, so let's not do that, God. You can just chill.
Of course, they won't even accept the balloon photographs from Dr. Bob. Or not Dr. Bob, but Bob, what's his name?
So just to the new people as well, this is the type of person. Sensible. This is the type of person that you get
program.
Who's been arguing this for years, but still hasn't found any measurements of curvature. So they just argue the same redundant points again and again. This isn't a new person to the topic, by the way. This is a diehard who's been emotionally wounded by the flat Earth. So just to point that out to the new people.
Fuck.
I would just like to kind of bring it back.
Please don't laugh. It's actually
can I just bring it back to something I said about 15 minutes ago. I asked for a demonstration. A demonstration was not provided. If God 420 goes back and provides a demonstration, then we can talk. I feel like there's no point talking about it because he made a claim, he hasn't demonstrated it. I feel like it's moot. So let's just move on.
I feel like speaking to him is moot.
But that's kind of what I'm saying is like, if anyone else wants to discuss this, all good. But he's made a claim that he hasn't demonstrated and I personally think can't demonstrate. So I think everyone listening already knows what kind of person God 420 is.
10-4.
With regards to the, what was it, the question before about inches per mile, to do with eyeballing it. I mean, I know, Cyclone, you already kind of went ahead with an answer. I would say this is something, when I said squared, someone else said that's a parabola. All good, but he didn't seem to have a problem with the Earth being a slope 30 seconds before. This is the problem with a lot of these debates, is that when we try and get into the actual details, like the meat of the issue, people only oppose it when it's flat Earth. Yeah, if Earth's a slope, not a problem. If it's a parabola, then they're opposing it. So you start to realize that a lot of people are very emotional about this subject. They don't actually want to discuss it. That was all I had to say, really.
Well said.
I agree completely with what you said.
Respect.
Yeah, exactly. And just like I said at the beginning, right? Pay attention to who's speaking about empirical observations and measurements and who's just kind of getting a bit emotional. So yeah, Corv, I don't know if you want to open up to see if anyone else has questions or.
Yeah, anyone else has a question? Want to try to be the interlocutor? Could be interesting.
I have a question.
Let me just see which name.
My question is, if the Earth is flat, how come there are time zones?
Time zones, classic. Crypto, you want to answer this, or someone else on the flat Earth side?
Yeah, if someone else wants to go ahead, otherwise I'm happy to.
You're good, Crypto. You take over, man. You explain it very well.
Yeah, go for Crypto.
Yeah, it's really simple. So, let's say that you were, living on a table, right? You, me, and a few other people were living on a table, and there was a light going around above that table. It's really quite simple. When the light is above your head, that's midday. As the light moves away from you, that's called evening, afternoon and then evening. And then as it becomes dark, that's nighttime. So your proximity with midday defines the time, right? So it's got nothing to do with the shape of anything. It's got to do with the cycle of day and night. And that's all it is. Because it's a repeated cycle, you call this 6 p.m. and you call that 3 p.m. and this is 10 a.m. But they're just... think about it as like sections of a day rather than sections of a ball. And, yeah, it's easy enough to understand.
Also, most people have confusion about the nature of the sun because they've bought into the heliocentric model, which is entirely theoretical, including the alleged distance of the sun as being 93 million miles away. There's no hard evidence for that, so there's no reason to think that's true. In fact, there's lots of evidence to counter that idea. So that's another reason why sometimes people get confused about the sun and the daylight.
I have a question.
Oh, I was actually hoping to ask the guy who asked the question, like a counter question.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, but I'll be very quick. I don't know who it was that actually asked.
That was me.
Sorry, what's your name?
Shamron.
Shamron, why do you think that time zones would only be possible on a ball?
That's a fact.
Based on the way you're saying that, the way that if it's like a light shining on a flat surface, essentially. Okay, how do I put?
You think that the sun would illuminate everything, right?
Yeah, wouldn't the sun
Like a table lamp over like a dinner plate or something, right? So everything should be lit up.
In the text.
Yeah, so that's why I wanted to ask this question, because often that's what people think. So I wanted to kind of lead into this. Think about a massive warehouse, right? So you've got a massive warehouse, and you've got one light in the middle of the warehouse. Does the light in the middle of the warehouse illuminate the entire warehouse?
Well, if it doesn't illuminate the entire warehouse, but I've worked in a warehouse myself, and if there's a single light and it's in the middle of the warehouse, you'll see some of the light from even the farthest corner of the warehouse, as long as it's bright enough.
Absolutely.
Well, the warehouses you've worked in aren't the same as the one that I've worked in. We'll have to agree to disagree on that one. I've worked in massive warehouses where you can't see. Like, every inch of the warehouse needs to be lit, or there's no light.
Or either way, imagine that warehouse is like 20 miles long, and there's a light at the far end. Then you won't see
would
it.
you then say that the size of the Earth is like larger than
way larger?
Yeah, the sun is more small and local than they tell us, and that movement over the face of Earth is what dictates day and night. Like a small light over a flat table.
Would you have proof to provide that? I mean, proof to justify these claims?
Well, do you know how you see the sun move every day?
Yeah.
And do you know how when you see the sun move away from you, it starts to get dark?
Yeah.
Okay, so prove to me that that's not what's occurring. Because you're saying that's not what's occurring, right? You're saying you're the one spinning, and that's the reason that it's actually going dark. But in reality, you just see the sun move away from you, and when it gets a sufficient distance away from you, it gets dark and it's nighttime.
Crepuscular rays help too.
So
another distraction.
Really, that's your logical axiom. The sun moves over your head, and eventually it gets far enough away that it becomes nighttime. The light is not reaching you. This matches what we observe of light. It doesn't go forever.
How can you see the sun rise?
Because that's when it's moving towards you. But it's not actually rising from beneath the Earth, right? That's an optical effect. Okay, so with it over distance, due to the way optics work, it'll appear to compress with the horizon, but it's an optical thing, right? You can demonstrate this if you have a long table and you take an object and you draw it away from you, get a friend to pull it away from you, you'll see the bottom of it start to disappear bottom up, right, on a flat surface. So when the sun's moving towards you, it has kind of the reverse of that effect. It appears to rise from the compression point of the horizon, but it's just traveling towards you over a distance. And we can show you footage of the sun not doing that, not appearing to optically sink, but rather shrink into the distance as it travels. You can see this in areas on the equator when the atmosphere is a bit drier generally, and Africa and places like that.
I'd like to counter that, because if you measure the disk, it doesn't change in size. So that makes no sense what you're saying.
Boris, it's good to hear you again. Been a while.
Yes.
So what was your
factually incorrect?
Boris.
Boris is back.
Where's Natasha?
Yes. So I want to ask you, I asked this a long time ago, and no one was able to answer it, because you believe there isn't a vacuum. So why does the ISS not burn up?
What are you talking about?
What's that?
Because it's at Building 9 Space Vehicle Mock-Up Center, Houston, Texas, and it's climate control.
No. You can see it with a telescope. You can see it with a telescope. You can.
That
see
was
it
a
with
good answer.
Good pair of binoculars. You can even see it with the naked eye. But
So
you
what
can
do you
see
see?
clearly
What
what
do you
it is,
see?
and it doesn't burn up.
It's not clearly what it is,
Explain
dude.
that.
It's not clearly what it is.
It doesn't matter. It's an object that's.
It's an object that is way. Listen, now tell me, if the ISS, what you think is the ISS, was at 40,000 feet, was 7 feet across, and going 350 miles per hour, would it look any different than what you see now?
That's not my question. I'm asking why does.
Well, I'm asking you. You think that you positively ID'd a space station flying at 17,000 miles per hour, 400 kilometers in the sky, and 300 feet long? That you positively ID'd it with a telescope or binoculars? And I'm asking you.
I don't care what it is. It's an object that you can see. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, and it could be at 40,000 feet.
Why does it not burn up?
Why would it burn up at 40,000 feet?
Because things screaming that fast tend to get
350 miles an hour is not fast.
What's that?
He wants it both ways.
Listen, the International Space Station would be where you think it is would be visually identical to an object that's going 350 miles per hour at 40,000 feet and 7 feet long. That's the same angular size. It's the same angle that it would travel across the sky. It's just everything is identical. Be visually identical, where you could not tell the difference. But why would it burn up?
Because it's going so fast in an atmosphere. But if there is
350 miles per hour, that's actually smaller than a commercial airplane.
I thought this is a question and discussion.
Well, if you don't look. So we start with a false premise, and then you continue.
Yeah, the ISS is going so fast that if there was no vacuum, it would burn up.
No, it's not.
Okay, so prove the speed of the International Space Station.
It's not, huh?
Prove the speed of the International Space Station from observation.
It comes back over my head every 90 minutes. That's
not what I asked.
First of all, that's not true in the first place.
It does.
Oh
it
my
comes
God. The International Space Station does not pass over the same location. If you look up, if you go on Spot the Station, so then why are you saying it?
Well,
it's going to go over the same spot.
Well, of course, it doesn't go over the same spot because it's around the spinning globe. But I'm not arguing that. I'm only arguing is why this thing that goes so fast, and you can actually measure its speed with
so you just keep saying it. Prove it's going so fast, dude. That's what I'm asking.
What's that?
You can measure it.
Prove it's going so fast. What's the evidence it's going so fast other than a press release?
I just told you. You can measure its speed with a ham radio when it sends out its beacons. You can measure hang on, you can measure
Oh my Lord.
measure the Doppler shift of the frequency.
Boris, come on.
I've measured it with my ham radio
Can you
system.
show us any data of measuring the Doppler shift of the ham radio operator? Can you show us any data supporting that?
Oh yeah, you can do it
Okay,
yourself.
so post it in Flat Earth text.
It isn't that I need to show the data. You need to do it yourself and see that. Oh,
That's called an owner's probandi fallacy, where you're trying to switch the burden of proof to me.
No.
Yes.
You're. I'm just asking you, why does this thing that travels so fast not burn up?
You don't know that it does. It's like you say it over and over. Yeah. Can I just get in here very quickly?
For a minute. Go ahead.
You can't just keep claiming the same thing over and over.
Well,
and when I didn't finish. You can't keep claiming the same thing over and over, and when asked to prove it, you just assert it again and again and again. At some point, you have to actually. I'm still talking.
You guys
didn't
do the
finish.
Same sort of thing. But
moderator, can I be allowed to finish my sentence, please?
No, you are. What am I?
Boris, chill. Let Crypto finish his sentence.
Yeah, you can't just keep reasserting the same thing over and over. Obviously, anyone listening knows that that's the case. If I tell you over and over that unicorns exist, it doesn't matter that I tell you they exist.
No, I get what you're saying.
I didn't finish.
But you don't
didn't finish.
You don't need to repeat.
Why are you talking over me, bro?
Let him talk, dude.
Fuck me.
Chill.
Like, I'm just trying to emphasize the point that over and over again, saying unicorns exist isn't proof that they exist. India has asked for proof. You haven't provided it. It's the second time tonight the claim has been made with no proof. Just worth knowing. You know, the audience that doesn't listen to this stuff very often, you guys should be considering this. Many claims, zero evidence. And that's going to be the theme for the night.
Yeah, I feel like all Globers try to use these sneaky debate tactics.
He left. Still waiting. I would like to add that in order to have the speed of the ISS, right, you must first assume that you have a distance between the center of the Earth and the distance to the ISS. Then you're going to be figuring out, you got me, bro. Then you're going to have to be figuring out how long it takes to make a circle around the entire Earth. And from this, you can calculate how fast it's going based on the assumption that you know the radius. So at some point, we should talk about how that was proven.
I think he left. Are there any other Globers in here?
There's a question in the text there. Grumpo is asking, I would like to ask about tides. How would that work with a flat Earth?
Yeah,
I mean, it's a simple. It's very simple. Like they're gonna be. You're gonna ask a lot of questions about how things work. That in reality, since we can't scientifically provide evidence for how something is working. You have an assumption on one side, and then there's a burden for us to say, well, how does it work if it doesn't work in the heliocentric model? When the reality is, you're standing on the beach and the moon is heading over you. You don't feel the hairs on the back of your neck or the top of your head stand up. Nothing is happening. There's no change. There's no difference. It's quite obvious that that's just a story that's told.
Yeah, if I could just add on to this point. So tides it's a good question, but again, like we're saying, it's not really something that you can scientifically test all over and empirically validate any of these stories that they're giving us. But an important thing to note is that they'll give you the story that the moon's gravity is causing tides. So then wherever the moon is, those tides would have to be occurring, but they only occur in oceans, right? Salt water. They don't occur in inland seas and lakes and any other body of water, which should experience it if it's simply the moon's gravity. So observably, you can see that the heliocentric globe model story isn't correct, but what it actually is a bit more complicated. Sorry, just quickly, I think Indio wanted to add something, and he's usually got some good info on this. Indio?
Oh, yeah, hold on. I was muted at my mic. Anyway, and it doesn't even tides don't even occur on over 50% of the ocean. There's something called tidal nodes in which there's absolutely no measurable tide difference at all. So there's that. It's like nearly the entire like southern ocean.
Yeah, let me just remember to add. So tidal nodes is a good one to look into, but also if you join the 24/7 Flat Earth Discord, where someone can post a link in the channel, you scroll down to the additional information section. We've got loads of channels, all alphabetized, and Currents is one of them where it speaks about tides, but it goes through, we've got channels on gravity, NASA, astronauts, sun, the moon, stars, all this stuff. And it's stuff that you won't find on YouTube or Google because they censor Flat Earth. So it's worth joining the server. So I'm getting some background noise. High viscosity liquid. Could you chill? I'm gonna pop you on
Okay,
mute.
sorry, I was actually.
But yeah, so check out the Discord server that someone will post a link to, and there's loads of information on this kind of stuff. But
You can join the Discord in announcement page.
yeah.
And I wanted to give the gentleman that underwater currents probably are the best explanation for why tides happen.
Well, I would say this about tides, that there is a weak correlation with the position of the sun and the moon, but not really that strong. So if you look at actual tidal data, so the theory is that the moon is pulling the water along, and that sometimes the sun, if they're in the right position, interacts. But if you look, let's say, the tidal data for the UK, right? So the pull of the tide, high tide should follow the moon when it's at its local meridian. That would be directly overhead, right? The water should be going towards the moon, like where it is. But if you look at just the island of England, you'll see that the difference in high tide can be up to 12 hours, and England's not that big of an island. So the tidal theory, the gravitational tidal theory, is demonstrably wrong just from data. This thing on?
Yep, we heard you. That was good. Good answer.
And if you actually want, I'll actually post it. Oops, sorry about that. Actually post.
There's another question in the voice text, the text channel, unless someone else has something else to say about tides. King of Kings wants to know, in the flat Earth model, the sun is smaller and closer to the surface than on the globe Earth model. Is there something preventing the light being emitted from the sides of the sun from reaching the outer edge of flat Earth? I don't really understand that question, but maybe somebody else does. Is there something preventing the light being emitted?
I answered him previously. He didn't understand what I was talking about. So there's something called Laplace's extinction theorem. There's this idea that air is transparent. It's actually not transparent. And it falls off as a double exponential with the distance. It's not the inverse square. Because there's something called optical extinction. In any other medium, absorbs and attenuates light. So because it has to travel through this medium, for example, if you just measure just the sun at solar noon versus when it's on the horizon, sunset, the difference in brightness is a factor of 23,000. It's 23,000 times less bright just at the horizon. And that's just from the change in angle. That has nothing to, that's not even a calculation for distance. So if you want the physics mechanism why the sun can't illuminate the entire surface of the Earth, that's what it is.
Yeah, I think High Viscosity Liquid had a question.
Yeah, I was just about to say thank you, Aaron. I'm gonna mute High Viscosity. So just a second. High Viscosity Liquid is a glass blower, so he has some interesting devices running in the background. But Mr. Liquid, do you have a question for our guest?
Not a question so much as a comment. I unmuted myself earlier because I was wanting to interject, but I was waiting for a chance to talk, and I've got too much background noise here. Sorry about that. I just wanted to say that freshwater lakes do indeed have tides.
I believe also rivers, maybe. Like I know I live in Stockholm, and sometimes the water gets like lower and higher during the day.
Absolutely. Rivers tend to experience more of what's known as a tidal bore, where you get the water flowing backwards up river, and it's held back by the river, so that you end up with an actual wall of water. When it does manage to push up river, it's pushed into a wall and so the tides rise incredibly quickly in rivers. But that's ocean water coming up river. But lakes very much do experience tides.
Okay, can I ask you a question? What's the mean tide level change in the Great Lakes, say like Michigan?
I missed that. Say again.
What's the mean average? What is the mean change in tide on Lake Michigan? Like, what's the difference between high tide versus low tide?
Lake Michigan is the one that Google offered me an actual number for as well. So if you're
and it's something.
If you're testing my knowledge is, according to Google, it's 1.5 inches.
Okay, so 1.5 inches, which is like what, 2 centimeters?
If that's
okay,
how
so,
you do your math, fair enough.
Okay, so my point, I'm trying to make a point here, is that this change of high tide versus low tide is not within this, it's within the uncertainty of the measuring device. Okay? That means that the measuring device does not have enough precision to draw a conclusion from the measurement. Okay? Random variation of water level can account for change in height of the water.
Okay, so first of all, you want to round 1.5 inches down to 2 centimeters. And then you've already cherry-picked Lake Michigan, which isn't that big a lake.
Well, I can also do the Mediterranean Sea. I mean, pick one. I mean, seriously, it doesn't even matter because the measuring device
it's
itself.
It's just funny how you come with all these.
Okay, I was told to pick one. How about Lake Malawi? It's nice and big.
Okay, what's the difference in tides?
I don't know. I would have to Google it. But the fact of the matter is, there's that information to be Googled. And you're telling me, their measuring apparatus isn't accurate enough to measure 1.5 inches. It's like bullshit.
Okay.
Okay.
What does it measure?
Find someone else to talk to. I'm not wanting to argue. I just wanted to interject that you were wrong saying that freshwater lakes don't have tides.
First of all, I didn't say that. And when we say does not have tides, which means they are not measurable to any precision where you can separate it from noise. Understand?
You did say that there were no tides in lakes and stuff.
Yeah, no, that was
but when we say no tides, it's not measurable.
Was essentially that, but my point was that they're not the same as the coastal tides. That is what people are talking about, which have variations in the feet, right? These ones that they're talking about, and only in recent years have they started really saying that places like the Great Lakes have tides. Like Indio is saying, they're a few centimeters at best, and they do not correlate to the movement of the moon, which they would have to in totality if the story about the moon's gravity causing tides was true. So even if you want to quibble a few centimeters variance in freshwater lakes and rivers, that's not the same as the coastal tides, and it doesn't correlate to the movements of the moon. So what's the point? It doesn't say anything for the globe.
All I can found is that
I'll just underline that. I'll just underline
5 centimeters.
Yeah, can I just underline that just by saying that the real point here, which Cyclone, more or less touched on, is that when people say lakes have tides too, it's a massive oversimplification and it doesn't actually mean anything. And again, it's just another claim without evidence that doesn't actually support the globe, even though people think it does.
And I'd like to also add that most people don't even know what the actual theory of tides actually is. The theory of tides, the gravitational theory of tides, is not that the moon is pulling the water and making a tide. It's that the moon is pulling the water at some place, and this displacement of water is creating a hydraulic pressure that's pushing the water up and creating a tide. So it's creating the tide in another location. And I'll post the link to this. The title of the video is actually Why Most Physicists Get Tides Wrong. The tidal theory, the gravitational tidal theory, is just, it's utter garbage.
Can I mention something here also? So when I was talking about the hair on the back of your neck, I was being serious, right? So now if you think about the vestibular system, it's the liquid inside of the semicircular canals in your ear that helps you stay upright, right? And so I would think that this small amount of liquid in your ear would be affected, right? If the tides are being affected, then why wouldn't some small change here affect you in the sense that you might become a little dizzy? This never happens. Is that crazy to say?
Well, if we're 70% water, surely the moon should affect.
Are you measuring your 15-degree drift with the vestibular apparatus in your ear?
Yeah, and the common theme here is that there's no proof of the cause of any of these things people have been asking about. There's another question.
I'll tie both of these together. So with the vestibular system, I would assume that this would be affected the same with the tides. Because it's like, okay, well, we're going to make a correlation somewhere and say, well, the moon causes tides. And I'm like, okay, well, if the gravity of the moon causes tides, then shouldn't it affect other things? And that's the same way for this, the gyro that's supposed to be detecting a 15-degree shift. Well, if that's the case, then shouldn't we experience the movement of the Earth? Like, say, when you send a drone up in the air. So when it's in the inertial reference frame, shouldn't the sun or these other things that are also in the inertial frame not be moving?
Well,
Yeah, and
just
I
to
think it's
comment-
good since. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, no, Dandy, you go first.
Well, I was just going to talk in general about the nature of science. So if you got something specific about that, then go ahead.
Well, no, I just wanted to make the point that to any objective and independent listener, the three kind of points that have been tried to use to counter what we're saying here is nothing relating to Earth being a globe. We had a begging the question fallacy about a gyroscope, where someone's observing a gyroscope spinning and saying, well, that means Earth is spinning. No, it doesn't. Then we had Boris talking about the ISS, something he doesn't know what it is or where it is, begging the question that it's in a vacuum and that it should burn up. And then this one about quibbling whether or not the Great Lakes changes by 1 or 2 inches. Right? These are nowhere near proof that you live on a spinning ball in a vacuum. But these are the points that they have to really labor. And it gets you nowhere.
Can I address that comment you just made?
It wasn't finished, bro.
I'm asking
Boris,
you
you're
to
back.
explain it. That's all. That's all I'm asking.
No, but Boris, you're begging the question to begin with. You're saying your default is that this object is in a vacuum. You can't even prove that there's a vacuum there. So no.
No,
I
I'm
think-
not. No, I'm not saying there is a vacuum there. I'm saying is that you claim that there is gas. So I'm asking, why doesn't it burn up when it's flying at 27,000 kilometers an hour?
You don't know that it's flying at 27,000 kilometers. You're just saying that. That's the whole
No,
point.
you can measure it with the Doppler shift.
No, you can't. You can say that.
We
but you
asked for
can't.
that data.
Yeah,
asked
you've not
for
shown
that.
anything, Boris. We're not doing this again right now, Boris. We'll come back to it if there's a lull.
No, I wanted
to
to ask one more question relating to that. Is if there's perspective, like when the sun goes down, is there perspective when it comes to radio signals?
Absolutely not.
Then why can't I detect ISS all the time?
So again, this is just another insane reach into nothing. We're talking about the Earth being a spinning ball here, Boris. Have you got anything for that?
No, I'm not. I'm
No,
asking
you're not arguing
you
that
to
Earth is a spinning
demonstrate
ball because
that
you
it's
know
flat.
there is no evidence for Earth being a
how-
spinning ball. So stop wasting our time.
Yeah, this is a whole bunch of misdirection, to be honest.
Yeah, exactly.
No, it's not.
May I? I'm actually curious in where this leads. Can we go down this road for?
Let's do it.
Let's give
What
it.
is
Hold
Boris?
on. May I just moderate quickly? Let's give it 5 minutes back and forth. One question, one answer, one question, and be fair. All right. I want to see what this leads.
Can I ask the Globers just generally a question?
I want to see where this. First, let's do the Boris thing. Let's see where
Okay,
it
sorry.
leads.
Sorry.
Let's give it 5 minutes. Does that sound fair to you, Boris?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it
Right.
probably won't take that long. I just wanted to address the claim is that the Earth is flat, and Globers claim that the Earth is a globe. I'm just basically asking the question: is why can't, in the case of the ISS or that thing up there, why can't I detect it with my radio all the time? And I get told that I have to prove it, and that's not. I'm not making a claim. I'm saying, why can I not detect it? So what I'm trying to get is a model of the flat Earth that fits that issue.
Okay. So what is? Can I just talk to this guy for a second? Okay, what is perspective for us? How does perspective work?
It
What is it?
doesn't matter. I asked the question.
It does matter. You
No,
asked, you're pressing. You said if perspective is why we can't see the sun, why can we see? But does perspective work with the ISS? And yes, perspective does work with the ISS. But I have to make sure you understand what perspective is in the first place.
No. Somebody said that there is no perspective when it comes to radio signals.
Well, because it's not. Perspective is a visual term, right?
Right.
That's talking about vision.
Right.
But the same principle applies, right? So the angular size of an object changes with distance, right? It subtends visually a smaller angle, right? It does not matter what wavelength of electromagnetic radiation this is. The further away something gets, it subtends a smaller angle.
Yes. So that's when.
When the ISS is further away, it has a smaller cross. Please let me finish. So it has a smaller cross section, right?
Sure.
Okay. So let me ask you this: can you, let's say radar? I'll just for the purpose of this conversation, I'll call radar seeing. Okay. Now, does the radar wave? What is the wavelength the radar waves?
Depends on how old the radar is. When it was invented, the wavelength was 11 meters.
Okay, 11 meters. Can you see something smaller than 11 meters with 11-meter wavelength radar?
No. That's why they made radar to be smaller and smaller. And during Second World War, I think they got it down to somewhere around
you can't see
centimeters.
Yes, you cannot detect things smaller than the wavelength that you're looking at something with.
Yeah.
Right?
Sure.
This is the Rayleigh criterion.
Yeah.
Right?
So, yeah, but that's not.
So if light is at 400, if the average wavelength of light is 550 nanometers, right, which is a lot smaller than 11-meter radar, why do you think you'd be able to detect something with 11-meter radiation that you can't detect with 450 nanometer or 550 nanometer?
Yeah, but I'm not talking about radar.
Can I comment?
Oh my God! Yes, you did. You said, "Why can't I detect it with a radar?" See, this is just I can't put up with lying.
5 minutes.
I literally can't put up with lying.
I'd like to just wrap it up then, if it's over. I'll just simply say that's not what I said. I says, why can't I not detect it through radio reception? Why can't like I can when it's overhead? Like, where does it go?
What frequency is radio?
Can I address this argument that's being thrown out there? Because I think it's absolutely silly to suggest that things actually shrink when they get further away. I mean, visually they appear smaller.
That is a straw man. No one.
That is a nice straw man.
No one said that.
Nice try.
No, but that's what would
nice try. You want to pull up where somebody said that?
Be the case in order for these radio waves to suddenly be missing the thing because it's smaller than 11 millimeters or whatever. There's 11. Yeah. Anyway.
Again, that's a straw man. You're straw manning.
It's a straw man. You don't understand the conversation. Okay. Now you said radio waves. What does radar stand for?
Hang on, I'm saying
is radar radio waves? Yes or no?
Can I explain it? Because I think you're missing something here, and you're not gonna let me deal with the part you're missing. What I meant was not sending out a signal with radar or any radio wave and getting a bounce back. I'm talking about the fact that this thing, the ISS, as it's called by a lot of people, puts out a beacon and they can talk to people. Why
in what frequency?
Why can't I detect its beacon when it goes in off into the distance? Why can't I detect it if it's a flat Earth? Because theoretically, from a flat Earth, I should be able to detect it anywhere on the planet.
No, you're wrong. You don't know how any of this shit. You don't know how this shit works. Okay, you're just talking outside of your pay grade or something.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So the antenna. So the antenna has a size.
Just please. We shouldn't insult each other. Boris is an engineer.
Are you kidding me?
Let Indio finish.
Please go ahead.
Are you really kidding me? He's an engineer in what? Sorry, I'm mind-boggling. Listen, because I think he should know better, and I kind of get I don't know.
Just say it.
The antenna itself, the antenna is an emitter, right? And that emitter, that antenna that's on the International Space Station has a size, right? It has a size. So let's say the antenna is 50 feet long. Say the entire International Space Station is an antenna. It's a 300-foot antenna. That antenna can only emit, say it's full wave radio waves, right? So the wavelength is the entire size of the antenna. Or let's say there's a bunch of emitters on the antenna. The angle subtended by the entire antenna is smaller than the wavelengths. Can't see it, dude. It's sub-wavelengths. Okay? That's why you can't pick up, radio waves. You can't pick up, 95.5 FM with your cell phone antenna because the cell phone antenna is designed and engineered for 5mm waves. Okay? Does not matter because the antenna has a size, man.
Well, the antenna isn't your filter.
Oh, the antenna is an emitter and it has a size. Okay, and the size
they can be
of that
all kinds of sizes.
Okay, so let me ask you: if I have let me ask you this. Okay, so if I have a 10-foot diameter spotlight and a 1mm diameter LED, do you think you can see them from the same distance?
Depends on where that LED is located in the spotlight.
Oh Jesus,
But besides that, you can have antennas of different lengths. It's an irrelevant thing. Like you can use
it's not irrelevant
ground plane or a half-wave dipole, or you can use a Gaggy antenna, or you can use a dish or a corner reflector.
Why do we make antennas bigger? Why do we make antennas bigger? Why do we just use one size antenna for everything if it doesn't matter?
My 2-meter antenna is small compared to, say, a 11-meter antenna. So how do you figure it actually works better? Because you want an antenna that's resonant in a certain frequency. So you tend to make them to the size.
Dude, that's a straw man.
I have a Yagi. No, it's not a straw man. I'm talking technical issues here, and I'm trying to make
You're saying random antenna types
without too much jargon. I'm being talked over. Why? Okay. Anyways,
so
just drop it, right? Because it just proves you're trying to talk about things you don't know anything about.
Right. No. Before we draw a line under it, just to confirm, Boris, you weren't saying any of that proved the globe, were you?
No, I wasn't. I was simply trying to understand.
Exactly. Hang on. Right. None of that proved the globe. This is obfuscation, Boris.
I'm not talking about the globe.
Really quick, guys. Really quick.
None of you guys like to talk about.
Guys, really quick. I just want to interject in here. I know this can be a super touchy topic. All I ask is that everybody in here, flat earthers, globers, whatever, let's try to show everybody the same respect that we demand of ourselves. I've seen lots of over talking and then people being like, oh, well, don't over talk if you don't want to be over talked. And let's stop insulting people and dismissing things. We're trying to have a discussion. This should be a discussion, not, okay? And it hasn't been going that way. So can we all try to reset, stop insulting each other if, this is obvious, and have an actual discussion?
Yeah, no, I agree, and that's what we're looking to do here. So this was just to highlight that.
Can I say one more time?
Here,
can I finish up like one more statement? It's going to be 2 sentences long. Then I'll shut up.
No,
I can just point out. Boris claims that the size of the antenna does not matter for detection of the signal emitted for the antenna. I just want to say that. That's what he said. That the size does not matter at all. Okay. Anyone with half a brain knows that is utter nonsense, and I don't even know why he's saying it. See, listen, and I know you said everybody should be respectful. I don't think lying is respectful. I actually think that is the ultimate disrespect. And that's why, at least me personally, I just sit here and listen to 3 different people tell things that they know are absolutely 100% false. It's not because they're incorrect, or it's not because they're misinformed. They know they're false, and they're saying it anyway. Okay, I find that disrespectful.
How many antennas have you built?
What does that that matter?
Well, I'm just.
What does that
asking
matter?
you.
Does that somehow prove that antenna size doesn't matter?
No,
Obfuscation.
I'm trying to determine how much you really know about antennas, because antenna length you can tune in any
Instead of
length of
actually
antenna to
trying to
any
prove your own point,
you
right?
want.
Indio, please don't respond. Let me respond to that. We're trying to move the conversation along. You yourself said, hey, I'm going to drop the conversation. And now 2 minutes later, we're going to get dragged back into something about
Yeah,
I find that, hold on, I'm going to be done in a second. I agree with the guy that just came in to say, let's calm things down, because this isn't calming things down. This isn't talking about what we came here to talk about. I actually want to ask the guy that came in here to try to get some good conversation going. Would you like to ask a question, sir?
Sure, I'll go ahead and ask a question. So to me, there's an interesting experiment that was done. It's a flat earther who has a channel. His name is Jaron. I think his channel is Jaronism or something like that. He's associated with Bob Nodell. And I'm not sure if you guys have seen the experiment, but he did an experiment on a canal with some lights, with cutouts. I'm just really curious, what do you guys think about that experiment?
It could have never worked even in principle. Because of divergence of light, diffraction.
Yeah, so this is from the Behind the Curve Netflix documentary, right? So this is one that a lot of people see and they think, oh, look, a flat earther proved that the Earth is curved. But that's not what happened. I mean, this was selectively edited. The laser that they intended to use broke, so they never used it. They tried to do something with a flashlight, but it didn't work. And the results they got wouldn't correspond to the globe's claimed curvature anyway. So that was, but if you understand the principle behind the idea of that test, we can show you plenty of demonstrations where there is a successful test where we actually do manage to shoot a laser 40 kilometers and hit a target on the other side that is supposed to be beneath 90 meters of Earth curvature. If you understand the principle behind what that Netflix documentary was essentially bastardizing, we can show you plenty of examples of how even you can do this yourself using a long distance observation. And people are doing that test and there is no curvature being measured.
Okay, I got two things to say. One, in terms of
viscosity, could you wait right now? I think the interlocutor is Curious Panda. If you would like to go next, I'll queue up afterwards. Is that okay?
I was going to address as to why a laser curves in the atmosphere, but I'll shut up.
Yeah,
I don't mean it like that, but okay, go ahead.
Yeah, no worries. Not that you need to shut up. I'm just trying to keep it to one point at a time and ask a quick follow-up question on that. So I'm not referencing the actual footage from the Netflix. There was a YouTube video of it as well. Now that aside, I am curious what the experiment that you referenced afterwards, where laser beams have been shot over, I can't remember the exact number right now, but where they have hit a target. Where were those experiments taking place? Was there control for it? And what terminology can I look up to actually find those studies or those experiments being done?
Yeah. Oh, go on. Go ahead.
Hey, yo, how do you?
I was just gonna. Yeah. Okay. Great. I'll post a link to the PDF. So this is so it was 3 sets of tests. It was more than just one. There was one done at Lake Valentine.
Can I?
Can you interrupt me? Sure. Go ahead.
Let Indio go, please, guys.
I can interrupt him. It's fine.
Anyway, yeah. So there's 3. It's a measurement report. There was 3 sets of tests. One done at Lake Valentine. There was 2 tests done there, and then there was 2 sets done at Lake IJssel in the Netherlands, right? So this is done by laser transit. The laser is electronically aimed. They had a beam collimator with a 0.08 millirad beam divergence. And yes, there was controls. They took meteorological data at both sides of the lake, and they did the test 3 weeks apart. So they replicated the test 3 weeks apart from each other, and they got the same result. So, I mean,
would you say that it could be possible? Because I think this is possible with anybody in any type of belief system. That
where does belief system come into it? I don't understand that part.
Well, just what somebody believes is true. So at a point, everybody believes something is true.
Well, there's a difference between believing and knowing. We know it's true.
Right. So I don't want to derail the topic into something different. But would you say it's possible for there to be a biased or cherry picking? Because I think that's possible with just about any type of research or data. Would you be willing to admit that there is a possibility that there is cherry picking that does happen?
Cherry pick from, well, there's no, listen, I would say yes, that's a possibility. But to date, as far as I know, or no Glober has ever presented any type of laser measurement across any distance to show that it's obstructed by Earth curve.
Yeah, I would argue that.
So there's none. There is no data to cherry pick. There's only ever been one result.
Yeah, I would argue that you can't cherry pick the truth. It's just the truth.
Okay, granted, I just wanted to establish a baseline.
Well, yeah, it could be. Listen,
cherry
of course, the data could be
a possibility.
It could be, and if you had contradictory data, but we don't have the contradictory data to cherry pick from. So there's more. There's more than just like one person did a laser test. There's multiple of these. It's something like 20 I know of. So, and they all get the same result, and there's none that say another result.
And none of them are funded by NASA or any government agencies. They pay for it out of their own pockets.
We try to stay focused on just like the experiment and not like weird
Yeah, so
shit.
I think Elijah's trying to jump in, is he?
Yeah, I was.
Go for it, Elijah.
So all that I wanted to say was you asked a question, good question. Indio provided an answer. You asked where you can find this information. Indio provided an answer. So I would.
Well, I didn't post the PDF. I'll post that.
Okay.
I posted.
Yes, please do. You can DM it to me.
Right. So the next step is to actually go ahead and look through the information and to really, really make sure that everything in there is up to snuff. You might want to recreate the situation and do it yourself, given all the information provided, to see if everything checks out. So could things be cherry picked and all this? Maybe, I guess. But based on what you asked, it was provided. And that's all we can do, right?
Yeah. So exactly. So we've posted the PDF in the chat, and I've DM'd you it as well. And like I said before, if you come onto the Flat Earth Discord server and you scroll down the additional information sections, you'll see a channel called Laser Test, and there's a load of them in there. But let's just, because we're on this topic, Curious Panda, let's just, because you haven't had the chance to review it yet, just go with us on this for now, since you understand the principle of it. So if we're saying we're shooting a laser from, say, 2 meters off the surface over a lake, say 25 miles, 40 kilometers, and there's a target on the other side at 2 meters height, that laser, according to the globe model, should not hit the target. You agree?
Can you I'm sorry, can you repeat that again really quick? I just want to make sure I fully understood exactly what
you understand that shooting a laser between 2 points over 40 kilometers, the globe model necessitates a certain amount of curvature between these 2 points. I mean, you can double check this afterwards, but just for the sake of argument, what it says is there's about 90 meters of elevation difference between those 2 points. So the laser should be sailing way above where that target would be on the other side of that curve. So according to the globe model, that laser should never hit the target on the other side of that 40 kilometers. Do you agree?
So I would actually answer that with a question. And I would say, what is the measurement or the calculation or equation that you're utilizing to determine that how much curvature or how much land should be
So it's based
obscured?
it's based on them telling us that it's a sphere with a radius of 3,959 miles, which gives you an approximate 8 inches per mile squared curvature drop rate over the surface. And that's good for about 250 miles or so, maybe even more, right? That's an approximation of the curvature that they tell us is a physical necessity. So you can go on Google and you can Google Earth Curve Calculator, and you can punch in those numbers, your observer height or your laser height, and the distance to the target, 40 kilometers, and it'll show you the numbers. So you can double check this, as I said, but just for the sake of argument, this is what it tells you, and you'll see the same when you check it. So it tells us that it shouldn't be possible for that laser to hit the target according to the size of the ball that they tell us we live on. So if we do hit that target, which we are repeatedly, in horizontal pans over various distances, using different colored lasers to check for refraction, all this kind of stuff. If we're hitting that target, do you understand why that's a problem for the globe model and what that says about the nature of the surface between those 2 points?
So, given the criteria, if all of that criteria that you just submitted is 100% accurate, I could see how you could possibly come to that conclusion. However, I would posit that there's possibly an error fundamentally in that calculation, primarily if it comes to using 8 inches per mile squared as a calculation for curve, as I believe that's an inaccurate formula, because that's actually a formula, an equation used to derive the curve of a parabola. And the globe claim is not that the Earth is a parabola, it's that it's an open spheroid.
That's why
so I would argue that equation, right? But I think my perspective would be, I think that it's errant to even utilize that equation in the first place, because it's not an accurate. It's that equation isn't for measuring what it's used to measure.
Yeah, go for it, Elijah.
Okay, so then how did they? Okay, so here's the thing. This whole conversation started with Jeranism, right? So what formula were they using to determine that that was Earth curve that the light was blocked from?
Can you repeat that again, Elijah? It's a little difficult to hear you. Sorry about that.
I apologize. What formula did they use, did globe earthers use, to determine that Jeranism proved that the Earth was curved?
So that's a little bit of an aside. We did kind of already move on from that. I'm actually referring to yes. So what Cyclone was talking about is something different, and we moved a little bit towards the calculation or the equation that's used to measure curvature. And so my reply was, I think it's possible that there is errors in that based on improper equation being utilized.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but if we can focus on not repeating ourselves. I heard it, everyone heard it, no disrespect. I took the mic away from Wolfgang, so I think he was going to respond to that point.
I'd like to respond to it. I'd like to respond to the parabola thing because it is a red herring. Okay, and I'll tell you why it's a red herring. So in the chat, I just posted. So this, I just buried my post. So I just posted. So there's the equation, right? So there's the drop using cosine and the radius and all that stuff, right? And then it compares it to 8 inches per mile squared. The distance at 41 kilometers, the difference in values of the drop is 2 inches. Between 8 inches per mile squared in using sine and cosine circular functions to calculate it. So it's 2 inches at 41 kilometers. So do you really think that that is a bigger difference? That's not even detectable. Right. So listen. So let me start kind of from the beginning, right? The globe model makes a prediction, right? They say the Earth has a radius of 3,959 miles. The globe model says that the Earth has a radius of 3,959 miles. It makes a prediction of how much something should be obscured at every distance. At this distance, the distance in question, okay, the drop from eye level of the surface at 41 kilometers away should be 127 meters or 440 feet. Okay, so that's the prediction. What was measured was the laser was seen at 1.5 meters. This is a two-order of. See, this is a typical thing that always happens, right? So, can you mute that person, please?
Yeah, I put him on mute.
Every time, dude.
We can unmute him after Indio's finished, but T-Pan...
I'm sorry for that. There was just some background noise coming from the random user.
So the difference... So this is a two-order of magnitude difference between what was observed versus what the prediction is. 2 orders of magnitude. This is not a measurement error or a calculation error or some insignificant... or like where something's in doubt, right? This is a difference between the height of a person and the length of a football field. Now, that is not like, oops, I thought it was, 4 feet, but it was actually 400 feet. Nobody's going to make that kind of error with measuring with a measuring tape. Right? That's not that's a huge difference. So this is not within the measurement error or the uncertainty of the instrumentation. It's way beyond it.
So my reply to that would be that if it is a red herring...
A red herring that the difference between that we're not using the right calculation of 8 inches per mile squared. At this distance, they're so similar that it's irrelevant. It's 2 inches at 41 kilometers when the actual difference that was measured is 2 orders of magnitude.
Right. So my reply to that would be is that I wouldn't say it's insignificant because if you're dealing with the distances that we're talking about, that 2 inches or whatever exponentially creates a gap or an error in measurement. So the longer the distance you have that you are measuring with that discrepancy, the larger the discrepancy that you're going to have.
You haven't understood what he said.
Personally, I think it's something that shouldn't be discounted.
Dude, you haven't understood what he said.
You don't understand what I'm saying. If we draw a parabola,
I do understand.
right?
I'm just disagreeing.
No, you actually don't understand.
You're disagreeing with mathematics? Okay, disagree.
Yeah. Let's give Indio or Crypto a chance just to clarify the point.
Go ahead, Crypto.
Right, but I'm not going to give him a chance to shit on me.
No.
I'll be very quick.
Disrespectful.
No, it's not about you, Furious Panda.
We're not trying to do that.
It's not.
No, I'm not trying to shit on you. I'm saying objectively you haven't understood what he said. This isn't I'm not trying to make you feel bad or look bad or anything. You just haven't understood what he said. So when he said that at a certain distance there's a 2-inch gap, there's nothing exponential about that because he's given you a snapshot. He said at this distance, this is the difference. There's exponential doesn't mean anything when you're talking about a specific point. It only means something when you're talking about you're going on from that point, then it matters.
Right. And so that's why I was saying I didn't misunderstood. I was just taking it to the next step.
Yeah, but Curious Panda, what I would say
as you get larger distances of measurement.
What you said doesn't make any sense then.
Well, yes, we know that at larger distances the error becomes greater. But we're only talking about. But we understand that. But
that's all
we can't see 1,000 miles anyway. So it's it doesn't matter because first of all, we use the correct calculation, but you can use 8 inches per mile per mile squared. As a rule of thumb, if you're close to the surface, right? If you're not at like 1,000 feet elevation, you can just use it as a rule of thumb, but you wouldn't use it as proof of anything. You would just say, okay, say you saw the photograph and something was 150 miles away. You're like, okay, 150 miles. You could do the quick calculation in your head and say, oh, this mountain's this height. Well, that's problematic. So let's do something more rigorous and use the actual formula and get that observer elevation and, you know, all the stuff. Then you go through all the steps. We just use 8 inches per mile squared as a rule of thumb. It isn't something that's a proof. We wouldn't use 8 inches per mile squared as a proof of something.
No, that's just an approximate for the globe model. But Curious Panda, if I could just quickly, what's being missed here is we get your point about the exponential nature of it, but we're talking about this particular distance, and the crux of it is that the laser is hitting the target. So if the laser is hitting the target, how is it possible that there's curvature between those 2 points as described by whatever formula you want to use? Use the 8 inches per mile or use your sine cos, and it's going to be 2 inches different, right? Either way, it can't hit that target if the Earth is a ball. So this is the main crux of it. So if it hits that target, how is that possible on a ball the size they say?
So I'll take a page out of your the way flat Earth can kind of comes. Can you show me? And not to be any disrespect, but I've generally when a globe Earth claim is made, the standard answer, and I can show in text, it has been given many times, is that show me, prove it.
Yeah.
So I'm saying, shouldn't you guys be held to the same exact standard if you're going to make these claims? Should you also not be able to show me?
Yeah, but that's why we posted you the information, and I said at the start of this, I know you haven't had the chance to look at it yet, so just follow along and entertain it, because you can check this for yourself. Just assume that what we're saying is true for now for the sake of the conversation, and then if you later go and check it and you disagree with what's being observed and recorded, we can discuss it then. But I'm saying for the sake of argument, that we're telling you that this test shows... Sorry, I'm getting some background noise, so I don't know who that is. But anyway, if this test, when you review it, you'll see what it says. And if what it says is the case, how is it possible on a ball? That's the question. I know you haven't read it yet, but I'm saying once you have, because this is just a case of information very possibly that you just haven't looked at yet, right? That doesn't mean it isn't true or it hasn't happened. It just hasn't come across your desk, right?
Yeah,
So
you
once
have
look-
to
so let's
understand
say-
that it's a system. You have to think about it as a system.
I'm just get this answer from Curious Panda, right? For the sake of argument, the laser hits the target at 40 kilometers. How is that possible on the globe?
Now, I'm sure there's probably some certain things that do make it possible. Now, for the sake of argument, like you said, though, if I have to grant something to you guys for the sake of argument to prove a point, would you also be willing, in the same fashion, to grant certain information from
Well, that's
a
vague,
globe
but
side argument?
We're talking about something specific here right now. I mean, if you've got something that you can present for evidence, that you've got a test and you can say this is what this test shows, then we'll have something to discuss and we'll have to review it. But at the moment, we've presented these tests and there's plenty on the server. And the question is, how can this be possible on a globe? The answer is it's not possible on a globe. What that shows is that there's no curvature between those 2 points. If that laser hits that target, which it does repeatedly, verifiably, then there is no curvature between those 2 points. And that's a problem for the globe because the globe necessitates physical curvature. So you understand why people hitting targets at 40 kilometers away with a laser is on paper a problem for the globe model, right?
It would have to depend. What is the elevation of the observed?
We've told you it's 2 meters. It's impossible on the globe. All this math's been done. It doesn't.
Is the laser verifiably being fired across a point that we know is 100%
water
flat level?
I have a question.
No, the other right.
Wired
So
across water.
we're all trying to let each other finish, right? So
go for it.
Well,
let's all give each other the
Wire
same
across
courtesy.
water.
Now, if I would grant that experience of a laser being shot over 40 meters, did you say, or kilometers? 40 kilometers. Okay. To you, if that's indicative that can't be possible on a globe Earth, would you, and that's something that you accept as an experiment being accurate and true, would you grant the experiment that Bob Nodell did using a laser gyroscope picking up a 15 degree per hour drift? So my question is why is that experiment easily able to be discounted? Because the results of that experiment, the conclusion would be inevitable that we do live on a globe.
Right. No,
so it feels like it's not being treated fairly. So
they're totally different, though. One's a line
would that not be right? But they still are going to prove either flat or globe.
Because
if one experiment proves globe and the other experiment you believe proves flat, why is one experiment more valid than the other? Hold on, let me finish. Let's not talk over. I'm almost done. Would that not be an exact example of cherry picking data?
No.
Now, listen. Hold on a second, Wolfgang. Please let me answer this. Please.
And that will be my last question.
So why don't you post the report that they did? Okay, so I'm going to answer you. Your question was, why aren't we giving them the same validity? Please post the report of Bob Nodell's experiment. Post all the data in the chat.
If you give me some time, I can definitely do that.
Okay.
No, you can't.
I do have to say that when it comes
to have a long search.
When it comes to flat Earth, it's kind of like it's insane to me that do you think that the government or something or someone is lying to us about the Earth being globe? Like, what do you think?
Oh, absolutely.
So my question is, who's doing
this?
Yeah, we're gonna get way off topic, dude. We're gonna let this get buried into bullshit, dude. Like,
it will get buried into bullshit. Yes, it will.
Okay. So before we move on quickly, then let's just say for Panda's claim that he tried to make about Bob Nodell's rotation, you're not going to find any information about that because there wasn't an experiment or a paper written up about it, as far as I know. But feel free to try.
Actually, I've seen the data.
Information. I'm getting ready to post it right now. So.
Okay, but then
hold on. Keep your shirts on.
You'd also have to consider, right? The difference is
in before the meme.
Yeah, the difference is a laser can hit a target. That's an observed fact within that, and we can attribute that to testing a line of sight over a surface curvature or lack thereof. With the gyro, you're just observing a gyro rotate, and then you're begging the question, saying that the cause of it is Earth's rotation, because you're assuming it's a ball that spins, but you haven't got the curvature bit to even be able to assume it's a ball, let alone a ball that spins. So no, they're completely different, those two examples, but feel free. And then Crypto, I think you were wanting to answer the question from the other guy.
Well, I just want to point out that his question was, why aren't we giving them the same credence? Okay. And the reason I asked for the data, there's a specific reason, because there is no data. It's something Bob Nodell said on Netflix that's just like an off-the-cuff comment. And I'll give you some information. Bob Nodell never had the gyro. It wasn't his gyro. Okay. Netflix has a bunch of factual errors in what they did. It wasn't a $21,000 ring laser gyro. It was a $7,000 fiber optic gyro. Bob Nodell never had possession of it. And 15 degree per hour drift was never measured because he would have had to have been at one of the poles. And we all know that he wasn't at the North or South Pole. And guess what? What data was generated? Listen, what data was generated? I've actually seen. And want to know what was actually measured? Earth rate drift of 2.24 degrees per 24 hours. Yeah, that's right. 2.24 degrees for 24 hours. Because, listen, I have a personal knowledge of all this. When it was done, there was a Skype chat that everybody involved was in it. I don't know what Bob did, whether he didn't read it correctly or whether he skimmed it or something. But the data that was spat out was 2.24 degree Earth rate drift when you combine all three axes and sum them together. Okay, this is why I asked the question. This is why why don't we give credence to it? Because there's no data. There's no data that was released. You notice FE Core never released anything on it. Neither did Rick Zimmerman. And plus, there's other factors of why you can't draw conclusions, because they also did with this same gyro, they did other tests, right? They took it to altitude, and it slowed down this so-called Earth rate drift. They put it in a vacuum chamber, right? And they evacuated the air out of the chamber, and it registered a slower so-called Earth rate drift. And because they got this, they actually went and looked it up. So it is recorded. There's published papers that a ring laser gyro, when placed at high altitude or in low pressure, slows down Earth, the so-called drift precession of the gyro. Okay, these are like little factoids you guys don't know, and I don't know why you get your science from Netflix. It blows my mind.
And CGI.
Wait, we go over the snow wall in Antarctica yet?
No. So
Why
the
would you
next question
believe
was
flat
from the
earthers on
guy
TV,
who
though?
was saying, so you guys think people are lying, and then Crypto was going to answer, I think.
You gotta get into sociology.
Yeah, well, that's why I wanted to cut that off at the knees. Like, we're talking about the physical reality that we live in. Everyone knows that people lie. It doesn't matter why. People lie for all sorts of reasons: money, power, greed, just to fuck with other people. Who cares? We can actually directly measure the Earth, so let's do that. That's all I wanted to say.
Well, to be honest, like people lie about things, sure, just to fuck with other people, but I don't really understand how that's like when hey, the Earth is flat, you're lying, like, and
I guess he's
I'm gonna repeat my answer. I'm gonna repeat my answer. Yeah, because I gave you 5 different options, and you picked the one that you thought was weak. Right? Listen to the answer again. People lie for all sorts of reasons, including money, power, control, and to fuck with people. I could go on and on and on. Now,
okay, but what he's asking is
fundamentally what matters is
how does that apply to anything?
Yeah,
how does
the flat Earth apply?
If I'm not allowed to answer the question, I think I saw some. Corvo, how can I answer the question if I'm not allowed to actually finish my sentence?
I think actually that's fair enough, Cat Pants. And if I see like this is some other guy who posted a meme in the Earth chat that I didn't like. So Cat Pants, if that happens again, I'm gonna have to mute you.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so people lie for all sorts of reasons, but of course people, when they ask this silly question, it is sociology, it's not science, so fundamentally we should just hand wave it. But what I would say is if you're going to ask this question, you need to ask who, right? Lots of different people are lying about this stuff, so why does NASA lie? Well, they get funding. Really simple. Loads of people do jobs. They just do their job, right? Unless I don't know if you've ever worked in a big corporation, people just kind of get on with it because there's all this office politics to worry about. People just want to earn their money and go home. No one's really concerned with the project itself. They just do their job. They get paid. They go home, right? So that's NASA's answer. Why do the people behind NASA lie? I don't know. Don't know them. Don't care. Fundamentally, though, we shouldn't even have to answer this question because it doesn't matter. What matters is that we can actually physically verify the Earth. People lying has got nothing to do with this.
Okay,
it's more. Can I speak, please? It's more of the fact.
I'm gonna have to ask you to calm down for a moment.
Why was? Oh, okay. But basically, it's more the fact of how many people you are asking to lie about this, and not one person, not a singular person is all like, "Oh yeah, they were lying. Here's the evidence."
Okay, if I can address that, there's been entire towns that were sworn to secrecy during the atomic age to build weapons. Okay, it's not hard to keep a secret.
Can I just point out to the moderator, he's just literally asked the same question again with different words.
Let's,
the thing is, what he's saying, though, is that
let's keep that.
But you're
talking about not just a small town. You're talking about the vast majority of scientists among the world, the vast majority of space exploration programs around the world for multiple governments around the world. You're not just talking about one city.
Governments do.
How many people have been to
Governments
space?
do. Governments do conspire with one another to deceive the people.
Yes, but you're also talking about
can I just cut in
governments
can I
that
just say this a
some
third time?
don't ally themselves with each other. Some have actual wars going on between each other. But amongst all these governments, some of which hate each other for many different reasons,
None of this matters. None of this This is bullshit. All of this is a complete deflection. Doesn't matter. No one cares why people are lying. Talking about
But the
physical
thing is-
reality. People lie. Get over it. We're talking about physical reality.
It doesn't matter to you because it proves your argument wrong.
No, that's not the case. I care about physical reality. I don't know how many times I have to say this. Doesn't matter what other people say. What matters is physical reality. So I don't know why we're talking about this.
You obviously don't believe in physical reality.
Okay, so hold on a second. I want to address that, Mr. Hey, Crypto. Let me just say.
Yeah, go ahead.
If that argument proved our argument wrong, right? If not knowing why they lie proved it wrong, that means if everyone signed confessions saying that the Earth was actually flat and they were lying, it would prove the shape of the Earth. Now, is that the case? Would signed confessions from everybody in the world saying they all lied and that the Earth is actually flat, would that prove the Earth is flat?
What I'm saying is, I'm not asking
yes or
why.
no, man. It's a yes or no question. You know what the answer is.
No,
Do you know the answer is no? It's irrelevant whether they're lying or not.
But what I'm
irrelevant.
saying is
Let's try to stay charitable, guys.
every single country that says, "Hey, the Earth is round. Hey, the Earth is round. Hey, the Earth is round." Every single why? Like, you're asking why would people?
You need to chill,
like,
bro.
Cat pants.
I'm
Cat
sorry.
pants.
I just speak loud. That's just on me.
You get emotional. That's
That's fine. Yes, if you don't understand that there's classified, if you don't understand that there's classified levels of information and that governments are perfectly capable of keeping many secrets, I don't know if I can help you. For example, the entire Vietnam War was
Thousands
started
of
on a lie
years.
of this entire Vietnam War was started on the lie of the Gulf of Tonkin, which has now been declassified and shown to be a false flag event. I can get you the link from the navalinstitute.org website to show you that our government has now admitted the entire Vietnam War was started on the basis of a lie at the false flag event at the Gulf of Tonkin. So I do understand for people who are new to this information, I would hope that people who are new to this information about the globe model being a mathematical and logical failure would at least recognize that in the world today, information is been extremely narrowed to your access to information, even though you think through the internet that you have access to all kinds of information. I think you're seeing information here tonight that is new to you. In the past, when people had a genuine spirit of scientific inquiry before that was squashed in people with the current pseudoscientific mainstream more politicization of science, people understood the concept that to do science, you had to go out, make a natural observation, develop a hypothesis, test the hypothesis, and have results that are repeatable and testable by other people. Now we have an entire field in the area of astrophysics, which is almost entirely theoretical and based on presuppositions. So that's why you see these people that come in here like Boris and God 420 earlier that just say, it's a fact, it's a fact, we live on a globe, that's what we are, we're in a lab, it's on a globe, we're on a globe, we're on a globe. I mean, do you guys not see the difference here between the global arguments and do you not stand back and say, gosh, if this is settled science, like why is it so difficult for these people to show that we live on this spinning globe? And then you might, when you're sitting by yourself tonight, or maybe going out and sitting under a tree, think, maybe there's something to this. Maybe I should rethink the programming I've been exposed to through the mass media owned by a very small number of corporations. And then you guys are in here telling us you don't think those guys who are raking in billions can maintain a lie if it profits them? I mean, how about just try to figure it out first, like people used to do, understand their own reality, not just believe what they've been told, because there's a lot of assumptions going on here, starting with the assumptions, we definitely live on a spinning globe. There's got to be some way to prove it, got to be some way to prove it. And just say, oh, maybe I should set that to the side. If I'm a person who wants to understand how to use and exercise reason, because to be able to hold a position and to be able to effectively debate it, you should explore the other side and understand where it's coming from. And to be able to do that, you have to consider, even for an instant, give it a 1% chance, this mathematical, theoretical model of the spinning globe that you have never observed or experienced, that you are going on somebody else's report on, and even on NASA, even if you just think NASA is the greatest thing in the world, right on their own website, they say, and I'll put the image there in the Flat Earth text channel, they say, Robert Simon, visual designer for NASA, he doesn't say we went up to take a picture of the globe for you. He says, the hard part was creating a flat map of the Earth's surface with 4 months of satellite data. Then we wrapped the flat map around a ball. My part was integrating the surface, clouds, and oceans to match people's expectations of how Earth looks from space. That ball became the famous blue marble. So right there on the NASA website, you got them saying, we're not taking these pictures, guys. We're making them up with the computer. It's hidden in plain sight. So you can either choose right now to rethink what, the truth is, or you can keep listening to your television and your computer screen, and you're not going to get the information there. I can guarantee you, because Flat Earth is a highly censored and shadow banned topic, proven in congressional hearings where that YouTube admitted that they do that. So you remember 10 years ago or whatever when we said China, oh my gosh, they don't let people see all of the internet. They control Google. We're doing that now here. Where's the outrage? Where's the upset? Where's your sense of adventure and spirit to find out, is there something to this? Like, you wonder why some people in here feel combative about this? It's because we are constantly being attacked just for saying, the math doesn't add up, guys. The math doesn't add up, guys, and we're never given a decent argument on the other side.
Can I get in here for a sec?
Hold on.
Oh, by all means.
Hold on. Before you go, Viscosity Liquid, I just want to anchor this point that Mary Mum has made, because there was a whole lot of outrage just then with the insinuation that the Earth is not a ball, which means you would have to have proof that it is a ball, which means that you would have to have a measurement of the Earth's curvature. So as an open question to all the people who currently believe they live on a ball, could you provide us with anyone in history who has physically measured, demonstrated, evidenced the Earth to be curved and to match this radius value of 3959 miles that NASA tell us? Someone from the globe side, what is the measurement? Who did it and when? Because that's the foundation for all of your claims, all of your outrage at us for saying, no, this isn't true. You're saying that that exists. So could someone provide it? Thanks.
I would just like to mention, actually, Numa has just come up in the text and has mentioned Eratosthenes, which is one of my favourite subjects. So would anyone like to discuss Eratosthenes? I don't know if you guys know.
Yeah, that'd be a good one for you to go over, Crypto, if you're up for it.
I can do. I just want to make sure that people are actually familiar with it. Otherwise, I'll be saying stuff that doesn't make sense.
Who's that?
So Eratosthenes.
Well, before you get started, I just want to say he was a bitch. But go ahead.
And I don't.
Wasn't he smart? Do you not like smart people?
Times already.
What a straw man.
From our side, that's not. We don't have to do that. That's like sitting in it. See, look, we don't have to do all that. Okay, let's just provide evidence as best we can, and leave the insults to the people who feel insecure about the topic. Okay.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so we're told that Eratosthenes proved the Earth's a globe, right? And the way he did this is he put two sticks in two different points on the Earth. And because we, quote unquote, know how far the sun is away, we know, quote unquote, that the sun's rays are parallel, and therefore the only way that you can get different shadows, when you compare the shadows, you can actually work out the circumference or the radius of the Earth. The problem is, of course, is that it's literally, well, spherical logic. No, it's literally circular logic. You've assumed that the Earth's a ball, you've assumed the parallel rays, and you've assumed that the sun is 93 millimiles away, to then find the conclusion that the Earth is a ball and that the light rays are parallel.
Wait, he didn't assume anything. Those are the conclusions that he came out with.
No, and I'll tell you why. So, if you were to assume that the Earth was flat, that the light rays weren't parallel, and the sun isn't 93 million miles away, then you can prove that the Earth's flat.
No, there was like an in-depth video of a guy explaining this, and those are the conclusions that he came out of it. He never asserted those.
Yeah, based on the assumption of parallel rays, yeah.
And a curved surface. Yeah, so Eratosthenes made two assumptions. The surface is curved and the light rays are parallel. Both contradict what we actually observe in reality. We observe a flat Earth. We observe divergent rays from the sun. So two assumptions he made, and there are academic papers
wouldn't there be
on
like
this.
strong gravity if we had a flat Earth?
Wait a minute. There are academic papers discussing his assumptions and confirming that it would work on a flat Earth with a sun with divergent rays. So it proves nothing.
Even
someone can post that in the flat.
Neil deGrasse Tyson himself says the same.
I'd like to go through a thought experiment with you. Victor,
I'll post
enjoy
it. 1 second.
Yeah, go. Victor, enjoy it. Do you have a room?
Yeah, I have a room, yeah.
Perfect. Does the room have a flat surface on it?
Yeah.
Anywhere. The floor even is fine. Do you have a light source in the room?
Yep.
Perfect, okay. So if you were to get 2 pens and put one pen directly under the light source and another pen off to the side, so far off to the side that the pen in the middle has no shadow and the pen off to the side has a 7.2 degree angle shadow. If you can do that, then we can actually calculate the circumference of your floor using Eratosthenes' model. So does that prove that your floor is a sphere?
No, I think he observed like how he wasn't able to see like the full the whole stick when he put it up in Egypt or whatever.
I don't really care about him now. I'm asking you to engage in a thought experiment with me. So if you have one pen directly underneath the light source and another pen off to the side, if it's 7.2 degrees, as in Eratosthenes' case, he says it's 7.2 degrees, I can actually calculate the circumference of your floor.
Okay. What does this have
Is
to do
your
with
floor
anything?
a sphere?
No, my floor is not a sphere.
Okay. So do you understand the problem now?
I don't think that's how he did anything, dude. I'm sorry.
Exactly how he did it. Listen, we speak about this every day, guy. This sounds like something you've kind of just read 10 minutes ago.
So if you go into, can I say something real quick? If you go into Flat Earth, I just posted a video of this actually being done. So this is actually a blind test. So he outsourced and hired some people, some engineers in Indonesia to actually just do this, do the measurements, set up the light, set up the nails. He didn't tell them what the purpose was, and they just sent them the data. And he calculated the circumference of his table.
Okay. Can I get in here with a question?
I did want to finish what I was saying.
Why is that when we observe like a solar eclipse, like why is like the shadow like a sphere?
Cool, can I finish?
How about you get one question?
You're cutting into a conversation here, bud. Let the gentleman finish.
Yeah, is that possible? So we can calculate the circumference of your floor when we know it's not a sphere, right? Now, the way that he quote unquote proved a globe is that he assumed that there were parallel rays, and then he said, okay, there's a 7.2 degree angle, therefore 7.2 degrees is 1/50th of 360 degrees, therefore the distance between the 2 points is 1/50th of the Earth, therefore times the distance by 50 to get your circumference, right? That's all he did. It's just maths. There's no proof there. He's assumed the Earth is a sphere, and then he's calculated what the circumference would be if the Earth was a sphere. But he hasn't actually proved that the Earth's a sphere. He's just assumed it and then concluded it because it's in the assumption.
And
do you have any like debunkings of like modern like ways that we find like the Earth is flat? Wasn't that like thousands of years ago?
Well, hold on.
Good, but we were talking about Eratosthenes, right? So you understand that Eratosthenes concluded what he assumed, and that's why we can put this to bed.
I'll have to look into it. Yeah, but at the moment, yeah, we can put it to bed. Like,
Yeah,
I'm just
so-
asking
so-
if any debunking.
But I want you to just tell me, do you admit that you can calculate the circumference of your floor?
I don't know.
Okay, but I just showed you how to do that.
You showed me. No, you told me.
Okay.
Well, I showed you a video of you can watch the whole thing of them actually doing it. You can watch the whole 30 minutes and watch them do it.
Yeah, and as I said, I'll look into it later. But at the moment, can we just move on?
Yeah,
Yes.
sure.
So this is
Yeah,
what
no
I'm saying, right? So we came up with Eratosthenes because the question was put to the room: who has measured Earth to be curved? Because that's what you need for all your other assumptions based on Earth being a ball, meaning Earth is curved. So we've agreed. Eratosthenes didn't measure curvature. He looked at shadows and assumed that it was a ball already. So not Eratosthenes. So who else? Globe believers. Next person. Who actually measured the curvature? Tell us.
That glass blower guy. That glass blower guy's been waiting to ask a question for quite a while. So I think he should get a shot.
Yeah, who was that? High viscosity.
Viscosity liquid.
Yeah. Here's a thing. If we were allowed to turn on our cameras, which I'm fine with, because I can talk in hypotheticals, I'm sure that some of us could go outside and turn on our cameras and show that it's daylight, and some of us could go outside and turn on our cameras and show that it's nighttime. How is this possible?
On a globe?
I actually addressed this, and you actually talked right after I addressed it.
Wait, what?
You mean how?
Called Laplace's
The thing
extinction
about the
theorem?
table.
No, he's talking about why the sun does not illuminate the entire Earth. Right?
Yeah, and one of you said that.
Yeah, that's not a good idea.
Imagine a table, and then you said if you had a table and you shined a light on it, that it would refract.
That was not the answer. That was not even close to it.
Yeah, wait to show
I'm
you're
just
not
summing it up.
listening. That's not what
The sun light up the bottom of the
Two
ocean.
things I wanted to. Sorry.
Go for it, Elijah.
Because the water absorbs the light. Now the air absorbs light too. And I talked about this. There's something called the Laplace's extinction theorem, and there's optical extinction where light absorbs and attenuates light. So much to the point that just the comparison of solar noon to sunset is a difference of 23,000. This is only due to the angle. This is just the calculation due to the angle has not.
So yeah, light doesn't travel forever. There's an extinction point.
The sun moves. That's what we observe. If the sun moves away, the further away it gets, the more air the light has to travel through, the less bright the light source is. It moves far enough away so it's dark where you are.
Depending on the humidity, you could actually watch a sunset while you're in darkness in certain parts of the world. But also, so I posted at some point, I'll probably post it again, it was an Alaskan cruise, and the guy looks to his right and he can see the floor illuminated. He looks to he looks to his left and the water is illuminated, and the right of him, it's not. It looks completely dark, as if looks like nighttime. So there's that. And then, like Indio said, light attenuation. Light doesn't travel forever. Like how far away do you think you could see, say for instance, a candlelight forever? Or do you think that the air in between you and them will eventually be so opaque that it wouldn't be visible? Because from your location, it could be a sunny day. 2 towns over, it could be, cloudy. And so it really depends on the angle between you and the light.
Okay, some people. I mean, how could the sun be below the horizon for some people and just having gone below the horizon for some people and high noon for others? I mean, I realize it could be it would only be high noon for somebody.
You're begging the question.
But you're.
It's not below anything.
Yeah, you're begging the question by saying, how come it's below? So you're already making the assumption that the Earth is a sphere and that we're spinning away from.
Okay, phrase it how you want. Somebody just watched sunset. and there's somebody else for whom it is noon.
Yeah, because the sun's moving, like you observe. Right? Covered this with the other guy. You observe the sun.
I think the misconception is that. Sorry.
Throwing streetlights on a flat surface.
Yeah. I think the misconception is that he thinks that the sun is 93 million miles away.
Doesn't matter how close it is. If the sun is below the horizon, like out of sight below the horizon, and you watched it disappear below the horizon, and somehow it's still overhead for someone else, I don't see how
Because
that's me being daft.
It's not going physically below
It's not below the horizon.
Yeah, it's not below anything physically, right? We can demonstrate to you that an object will appear to disappear bottom up over a flat surface, then that eliminates the claim that this can only be due to going behind a physical curve. This happens on a flat surface when an object moves a sufficient distance away from you.
What, you're talking the inverse square law? It just it gets dimmer because it's further away? I mean, that's not making sense to me.
No, I'm talking about the optical effect that you see of something sinking on the horizon. You're claiming that's a physical ascent or descension below a physical curve, when we can show you this effect of an object appearing to disappear bottom up on a horizon on a flat surface.
Flat Earth.
So if it's apparent on a flat surface, it doesn't indicate a curved surface. You observe the surface to be flat. You observe the sun to move, right? When the sun gets a sufficient distance away from you.
No, straight triangulation, okay? If I'm seeing the sun low on the horizon, then you can argue it's still above someone else. But as it lowers down, it appears to be getting lower down. Now you say it's just moving sideways further away. At what point does it, it just doesn't make sense as far as...
Can someone post the shrinking sun video? Have you ever seen the sun appear to shrink off into the distance rather than setting or appearing?
I already posted it. I'll do it again.
So if you look in the text channel, if you look in the text channel, Indio is about to post a video where you'll see the sun not set below the horizon, but go off.
What the fuck?
In size.
Okay, two things to say about that. One is it appears to be some sort of fog to the extent that it is real, and
That's
you're
exactly
going to talk.
what I was saying.
And you're going to talk about. You're going to talk about. You're
Dude,
going to
just go one at a time. You can't even hear this with this guy having his fucking static on.
Well, don't worry about static. And I did interrupt him, but I'm sorry that I interrupted. But that's the exact point I made, based on the angle and the atmosphere that you're seeing through. It can block the light. And now you're telling me or telling us how, well, the reason it's appearing to disappear that way is because of what? The same thing I just told you. Now, if you're talking about, why it appears to get lower in your field of view, well, I mean, if you take any kind of light, a street lamp, and it's above your head, the further you walk away from it, the more it's going to get lower in your field of view, right? That doesn't mean that it's actually shrinking. It's just a part of perspective.
Yeah, okay, but the problem comes where it suddenly goes dark. It gets dark over the course of about 10 minutes as the sun drops below the horizon. In my perspective, apparently I'm making assumptions and I shouldn't phrase it that way.
Sometimes it takes 3 hours. For instance, I live in New York City. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to do some more observations as I did some last year. And the sun would set at 7:30. Meanwhile, I still had daylight till about 10:30 at night around the summer solstice.
Wait, you had that's impossible. I've never heard that before in my entire life.
What do you mean that's impossible? I can show you pictures, videos. I did this all last year. Myself, not some other person.
Well, how would I know that it's actually 10 o'clock?
Because the videos that I've taken, they also have the information. So you know how you take a picture or you take a video and you click information? It sometimes gives you the location, but it gives you the time it was taken as well.
Yes, we're getting off into the weeds a bit. I mean, I would just like to say we can demonstrate these effects of objects appearing to crush into the horizon and go beyond your vanishing point, like when you're looking down a hotel hallway and the roof and the floor seem to converge and the walls seem to converge. This is just how our eyes work. At a certain point, you can't resolve it, and due to the atmospheric occlusion and everything else, the light doesn't travel forever, so it becomes nighttime. The sun is moving like you observe. So,
yeah, and this is Art 101.
It's an awful
perspective.
It's an awful quick transition, and I'm sorry, but the inverse square law says it should be dimmer. We should still be able to see it. It's awful bright.
Inverse square law applies in vacuum only.
Yes, I'm aware that you have to add the filtration of the air, but the air doesn't suddenly become...
Which is a double exponential, which is our exponential function.
No. There's not an exponential...
No, they are exponential functions. I'm literally gonna post the math. I'm really gonna post the math. And you're gonna nut it again? Like, seriously, you're just not on, dude. Like...
Can I also point out that... Sorry for the whip. Let me stop here. But when the sun is overhead, it's a white light, so bright that a lot of people shy away from looking directly at the sun, while some are brave enough to do it. But as it gets closer to the convergence point that we call the horizon, it looks red, which happens to be the longest wavelength of light. So what do you mean when you're saying it's not dimmer? Like, that's exactly what we're doing.
I'm not saying it's not dimmer. I'm not saying air doesn't filter out.
Brief, because...
I'm not saying air doesn't filter out ultraviolet.
No, we're all together.
Guys, please let him
When we
finish.
try to talk one at a time, it becomes very difficult to follow conversation.
Okay, so...
Discuss it, please finish your point. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just trying to finish my point. Thanks for interrupting me to give me the floor. I mean, at this point, I don't know what to say other than if that's the best argument you've got, that it gets dark like drastically quickly, like over the course of about 10 minutes. Just because it's suddenly moving away quickly? No, because of the double inverse square. Well, no, it's not an inverse square as to the added filtration. Every foot of filtration only...
I don't know why...
Every foot of filtration only adds another foot of filtration. It doesn't increase exponentially, much as you might wish it to.
That's a straw man.
I literally posted the graph. I literally posted the graph. And the claim that the sun, it gets dark rapidly, that's just empirically false, objectively false. There's something called civil, nautical, and astronomical twilight, right? But each of those lasts 30 to 40 minutes, depending on the time of year. Each of those. So this idea of the... Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, it also depends where you are on the Earth. Twilight actually happens more quickly in the south than it does in the north. And all of these things are factors that globers don't even consider, they don't even think about. But I just wanted to make a more general point to the moderator, Corvo. We seem to be having a lot of... What globers do is they go, we observe an effect, therefore globe. But they never actually seem to present why it proves a globe. And when you actually go more than scratching the surface, you realize it doesn't actually prove the globe. So
why are you appealing to me as a moderator? If they feel...
What I'm asking for you to do, if you can just look out for that in future, because I feel like
I don't think that's a bad argument. So if they feel that's their strongest argument and you feel that's a very weak argument, then in the spirit of the discussion, let them fall on their own poor arguments.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and finish though. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and finish. So
Can I finish? Fuck.
No, he was talking.
Okay.
Yeah,
let Crypto finish.
Jesus Christ.
Okay, Crypto, then high viscosity liquid. Let's do it in that order.
Yeah, okay. So the point I'm trying to make here is that a lot of time is being wasted on this nonsense, where it's like, we see an effect, therefore globe. we've gone through about 5 or 6 different things now where we've demonstrated that it doesn't prove a globe, and yet then there's number 7, number 8, number 9. I would like at some point for you as the moderator to say, right, it's time for the Globers to prove the globe instead of throwing out random obfuscations and weird stuff that doesn't prove anything.
Yeah, I agree. After these next two people talk, then I would think that somebody here who's, believes they live on a spinning globe could present their best evidence. That'd be cool. But yeah, there's 2 other people in the queue first. Hi, Viscosity. What did you want to say? And then Elijah after that.
I'm just responding to the claim that there's an exponential increase as you've got a further...
No, you're the one... okay, I'm sorry, but you're the one who brought up a question that was already asked at the beginning and already answered multiple times. And then we answered it again, and then you're quibbling about the details. So what we're saying here is, if we live on this spinning globe, let's see some evidence for it. But what were you going to say, Elijah?
Okay, so I'll just fuck off then?
I mean, you can repeat what you already said. We all know what you said. The point is that it doesn't address the main point. But continue. We want to listen to you repeat yourself again. Go ahead.
I don't want to have to mute everyone. If I may, I think we need to bring this back into a more civil direction. I think it's High Viscosity Liquid's time to make his point. Then we should try and move on from this point.
And then Elijah, and then we can move on.
Okay. I wasn't actually trying to make my own point here. I'm still trying to respond to India. He said he posted the graph. Yes, I look at this graph, and I understand what's going on because, of course, when the light is overhead, it's going through less atmosphere. It's going through vacuum until it hits atmosphere. When it's coming at you sideways, it's going through a whole bunch more air. Yes. So it stands to reason that there's an increase in the filtration. And I'm not sure where this graph comes from. Does this include the fact that, or what I'm calling fact, what I think of as fact, that it's dropping below the horizon? Or does it show this curve, this exponential curve based on it going through air? It doesn't make sense that it increases exponentially as it goes through that much more air. There's an exponential increase, yes, I would concede partially because the air is thicker lower down. And so per foot that it's going through matters more, but okay, as I said, this isn't my argument. My argument was about going outside and seeing with your own damn eyes that you can have nighttime, daytime, sunrise, and sunset all happening at the same time on camera. And this is being hand-waved away as far as I could tell. So, yeah, have at it,
sun,
kids.
Listen, I'm going to explain to you. The sun is local, and when it's far away, it has more air to go through, and it's not being filtered, right? This is a property of electromagnetic radiation that when it passes through a medium, it is absorbed by the medium, and it is attenuated by the medium. Both of these, if you look at Maxwell's equations, are exponential functions. So they're compounded exponential functions. You also call it an impedance, right? So there's different ways to this. I'll actually post the formula, and this comes from an astronomy site, and this is based upon the value they use is air mass, the volume of air that the light has to penetrate through before it reaches wherever you are. Break up? Somebody hear that?
Yep, I heard.
Okay. So I'm actually going to get the source and I'm going to post it. Like astrosim.org or something.
May I just make a quick announcement, please? I was informed that we should conclude the event in 15 minutes. Does that work for the...
Yes, but this is when we're getting to the meat of it now, right? So we've went the whole time without anyone presenting any evidence of the globe.
Yeah, I think we should keep going.
And sorry, guys, can you hear me?
Yep, that would be good.
Right, so we're coming back now to where we left off, which was what's the evidence for the ball? Who measured curvature? We had Eratosthenes. We agreed it didn't prove a ball. So we're still waiting for that evidence for a globe. In this whole conversation, we've had tangential non sequiturs that don't come close to evidencing we live on a spinning ball. So now's the last 15 minutes for you globe believers to show us who's measured Earth to be curved so that you can claim to live on a ball. Show us that. This is what the 15 minutes is going to be. It's either going to be you presenting evidence or it's going to be awkward silence.
They don't have any evidence.
Let's see it. Globers, step up. Who measured the curve?
Wait, I'm sorry. Are you asking why we think the Earth is a globe? Are you a flat Earth?
No, I'm saying,
Yes, that's what we're asking.
We're all flat
people think
earthers.
the Earth is a ball, so that there must be curvature because balls have curvature. Okay, so who measured the curvature for you to presume you live on a ball? Who was it? When?
I don't believe the Earth is shaped.
Cool. So no one's got anything for Earth being a ball then? Is that what we're concluding?
We're
Sorry,
keep
go
going.
ahead. No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, are we all in agreement here that the Earth is flat then?
I guess it is.
No, absolutely not.
Okay, so who measured curve?
Okay, wait. You can't
No, this
do
guy
that,
who just
dude.
said no. No, this guy who just said no. Who
Wait,
measured
you
curve
don't
and when?
let him own this debate. First off, you gotta prove
It's not
your
a debate. There's
position
been
as
no
well.
evidence presented for the Globe 2
Okay,
debate.
wait. Okay, so here's the problem. You can't keep saying, well, someone try to defend it. Are you going to defend your position as well?
We have for the last 2 hours.
what the heck?
3 hours.
I just joined.
Guys, so welcome to the server, Ryan. We're proud to have you. Guys, I don't like to use priority speaker. So the event will be concluded soon. Everyone in staff is very fatigued. Formally, it will be concluded. Then we can continue on as you guys like.
Well, can we just keep discussing without the staff?
Moderator, didn't the Elijah had the next on?
Yeah, Elijah's got something to say, so I guess we've got 13 minutes left.
Well, it's too far removed to go back to the other guy. I mean, he kept saying,
You guys have
why
15
is the-
minutes.
Right. thanks.
The globe has-
Yo! It's really
I mean, I just showed up to the server, but if I have to say one point here is that the flat Earth theory or hypothesis or perspective.
Holy shit! Somebody was in the middle of something.
Yeah, dude, come on.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So we can do two things. Okay? Forget what the other guy said. We can just get down to brass tacks. We can do two things. We can either wait for you guys to tell us who measured Earth curvature to figure out that we have a radius of 3,959 miles, or we can use the only method we know of to either conclude that it is 3,959 miles or it's not. So we can go on the offensive or we can wait. We already went on the offensive with the laser, but we have other ways. So there has to be convexity somewhere. The ball is in your court. Which would you like us to do?
So I had a question earlier. I was wondering, do we have to lead with
Which
that?
would you like us to do?
The problem is
Because
for
there is only 10 minutes for the live portion. I mean, you guys are just burning up time.
Well, the thing is, I was wondering if we had no choice but to respond to that specific, because I had a completely different point.
So are we conceding that there is no one?
The young woman came in and she said, well, you guys have to prove whatever. And I said, well, we can do that two ways. And I just laid it out. And I asked, which way do you want to go? Based on what she said.
Yeah, I mean, I think we could either, we could just have no one talk except for one flat earth person who could present the black swan argument, for example, or, we could take some more questions from people who, I don't know, Shamron has some other question. I guess what we want to make sure that anyone listening to this, especially if they're new to the topic of the flat earth, to realize that when we ask for the best evidence of this thing that's supposedly settled science, nobody said anything, okay? So you guys, a lot of you, if you've grown up here on the earth, you probably thought, at least up until today, if you're new to the topic, that you lived on a spinning ball. And many of us did. When I first researched this when I was working on my master's degree in science education, I was writing a paper on how to show to students that they're wrong if they think the earth was flat. Because just like most people do, because the propaganda works, I believed that, these flat earthers, they're just stuck in the dark ages, they're just uninformed. And that's how most of us have gotten to this, because we actually looked at it and we thought somebody must have conclusive scientific evidence, right? Because it's all over the place, and we found out it wasn't there. So that's what we're trying to tell you here. And you've just had this demonstrated to you live, that people don't have measurement of curvature or rotation. They just don't have it. So yeah, I mean, are we taking a poll, Elijah, or what? I don't know.
Did we get to gas pressure without a container?
Yeah, let's
I
try
don't
and
think anybody talked about that.
Yeah, let's try and do gas pressure and the black swan in the last 5-10 minutes if someone can bother going through it.
Again, I was saying, do we have to? Because I have a completely different point to bring up.
Well, if you can be quick, just ask your question.
Okay, so basically, the way how I have learned how a lunar eclipse works is when the Earth goes between the sun and the moon.
Yep.
That's not
Right?
observably true.
Right, so that's the story they'll tell you. Sorry, Elijah, go on.
The quick answer is that's not observably true. Now, it's on you to say, how do you know that? Or, fine, I accept.
Okay, so how do you know that?
Well, there was just a lunar eclipse just the other day. It was a total lunar eclipse, and everyone who observed it observed the moon and the sun in the sky while they were standing on the thing that was supposed to be obstructing the light. So no, these three bodies, so-called, aren't in alignment.
Let me just quickly say as well, if you look up something called the Selenelian eclipse, Selenelion, this is when the sun and the moon are both observed above the horizon at the same time. So they're not in syzygy. They're not in alignment like they tell you they have to be for there to be an eclipse. Both above the horizon, and yet the moon eclipses. How is that possible based on the story that they tell us about the alignment? It's not, right? It's not possible. They need to be in syzygy, but they're not. So the moon eclipses, that debunks the syzygy theory. So what it is exactly, we can't tell you because we can't test the mechanism. But what we can tell you is that it's not based on the alignment of a ball, sun, earth, and the moon. So yeah,
the shadow.
Wait, what part of the flat Earth conspiracy do you follow? Do you believe in that Freemason shit?
So just to summarize what Dandelion was saying, we've went the whole chat without one piece of evidence for the globe. A lot of questions, a lot of stories going around.
They provided evidence, but you just denied it. You just denied it and said it wasn't good evidence.
What was the measurement of curvature? What was it?
I'm pretty sure that one guy that had like a turbo mic offered something.
Right, what was it? What did he offer to give a measurement of curvature?
The shadows.
And don't tell him. What was it?
Yeah, like what he said.
So you don't know. So this is it. These guys are just taking the piss, right? So
I'm taking the piss. Why do I take that?
Soon, but I wanted to thank Corvo for even entertaining it. And now Corvo.
Wait, what's your IQ score? I'm wondering. I'm just genuinely curious.
Providing anything.
No, don't burn up the last 5 minutes.
Because they've got nothing. Yeah, I'm just gonna mute him.
Directly into the Black Swan.
Yeah, someone post the Black Swan in the Flat Earth text. Right. So if you're looking at the text chat, we see oil rigs. There's a predicted geometric horizon to a ball Earth. You can go onto Google and type in distance to horizon calculator, put in your observer height at 1 foot, which is where this is taken from, And
Yeah,
you'll
and
see
the
that the
legs-
horizon is seen beyond the second rig, which is over 10 miles away. The Globe Earth model says that the horizon can be no further than 1.2 miles for a 1-foot observer if boats are going over a curve of horizon. But obviously not, because we see that horizon beyond the second rig. This has been repeated multiple times. There's no geometric horizon.
Isn't the
to
rig
Earth, which there would have to
extremely
be if
tall?
it was a ball.
What?
Yeah.
The globe's
That's a terrible
not
argument.
Very tall.
What's the
It's a
argument?
You can see the
legs
bottom
are
of
covered.
Hold on. What's the
The
argument?
legs are covered in
Wait,
the one.
I'm
that-
asking him a question. He says a terrible argument. What's the argument?
He's saying that if you're able to see a rig, and
That
from
is
like
not the
that's
argument.
10 miles. No, I'm speaking, right? I'm speaking. Don't interrupt me. If you're able to see a rig from 10 miles away, and like the spherical globe model says that you should only see it from like 1 mile away, and that's like the amount that you can only see it from. You
Hold
shouldn't see it
on.
from 10
The-
miles.
the oil rigs are not part of the argument.
Helio, wait. I was talking to him. That's not the argument, by the way, because you didn't even listen to the argument. It wasn't
didn't
about the
listen to
oil
it.
rig. It wasn't about the oil rigs. It was about the
Was it
horizon.
about a boat?
No, it's about the horizon.
Yeah. He was talking about like seeing an oil rig.
We can
No.
see it further.
No. He's talking about the horizon. The horizon is further than what the globe Earth predicts. Based on
the site of the oil rig.
I'm talking. You said. Oh, you were talking. Now I'm talking. The oil rigs are just demarcation to where is the distance. In other words, there's just markers of the distance, not the horizon itself.
Yeah, you're able to see the oil rig because the oil rig is like 10 times as high as it is far away.
Victory,
Come
why
on.
is the horizon?
Terrible
Why is
argument.
the horizon? Why is the horizon seen beyond the oil rigs, Victory?
Huh?
Why is the horizon seen beyond the oil rigs?
What do you mean horizon?
What do you think the horizon is?
I actually don't know what a horizon is. Like you
So
can be
why are
able
you
to see
having
that
this conversation? Why are you having this conversation if you don't know what the
to
horizon
learn
is?
something.
Okay, the horizon is the apparent demarcation point between land and sea or sky, right? So where it
So
appears to meet.
what does it look like?
He's trolling.
So
the
he's
last
just trolling.
5 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm not trolling. I'm asking you a question.
Hold on. Here's the thing. The girl asked the question because she came in late. I offered to go on the offense. This is the offense, and it's not being. We're not allowed to just run it through the end zone. Okay, this is what you people asked for. What is the problem? Seriously.
The problem is they can't tell us why the horizon is seen beyond the oil rigs when the globe model says it can only be seen at
They're getting
1.2
scared.
miles.
They're scared now. They're scared now.
Okay.
We're still waiting for an answer.
Like I said, let's avoid things like that,
defenders
guys.
and
That's
right there at the goal line. And
Helio. Let's avoid things like that, please. That's like super provocative when you make statements like that. So hold on, let me ask you guys, okay? And okay, okay, guys, stop. I'm staff here for a second.
Can I ask you?
I hate to pull the card. Okay, let's stop this for a second. All right.
I believe someone doesn't know what a horizon
You guys got 5 minutes left. Okay, you guys got about 5 minutes left.
we have as
All
much
right.
time as we want. We do this 24.
Do you want in this server? You guys got about 5 minutes left.
All right.
Let's not derail it. Okay, with accusatory stuff. All right.
Can I politely request that all flat earthers, apart from Cyclone, shut up, and then he can just finish his presentation.
Here. Good idea. Yep.
well, I
Take us out,
suppose
Cyclone.
if we've got
Let's all be respectful and let's take it out on a respectful note. How about that?
That's what we're doing. Listen, all I'm doing is asking for an answer as to why we see the horizon at a distance that the globe model says is impossible. And the response we get is just trolling, right? But it's there. The horizon is visible for all to see. It's been verified. There's no answer to why you can see it on the globe model. If you want to get into refraction, that's a different story. But there is no answer to that observation that works on the globe model. It debunks it. So that's another good point highlighted. No evidence for the globe, no response to the direct observations that debunk the globe. And for the last 5 minutes, we can just go on gas pressure. Gas pressure, by necessity, by definition, requires a physical container. On the globe model, there is no physical container, but we do have gas pressure. That's what we breathe. So if you can't demonstrate gas pressure existing without a container, then there's no demonstration for the globe model. It's a violation of the law. High pressure flows to low pressure. So the high pressure of Earth, its atmosphere, would rush into the low pressure space, which is space, the vacuum that you've been told about. Gas pressure requires a container. Natural law debunks the globe model. So do we have any globers here who could show us gas pressure existing without a container for this story to be true?
Before we do that, the time is up. I'm just
we have 5 minutes.
I know. I'm just gonna do this quick speech for a second. I really appreciate the Flat Earth community coming over. So I officially just conclude the event. It will continue on, and Curious Panda is being given official authority over moderating, and he's a very fair guy with 10 years of moderating experience. So for everyone coming, thank you so much for coming. I am personally just extremely fatigued and exhausted. It's 2:30 a.m. for me. So I really appreciate everyone showing up, everyone doing their best to argue their point and belief. I really enjoyed.
Really appreciate you having us here.
Of course, man.
It's been a really fun time. To be honest, I've been listening the whole time. Been an awesome stream. So.
Yeah, I've been listening the whole time as well. It's very interesting,
I'll go ahead
very
and
informative.
end the stream, from here, and then I'll move it back over to our live stream.
Yeah, so I was thinking it can continue on the discussion, but the moderator will officially be Curious Panda, and he's a very fair guy. So thank you so much, everyone.
This was a very, very
in a
interesting
regular
event.
fashion now.
Sorry, could we get, anyone who's got some comments or anything, feel free to make them. It would be interesting to hear your thoughts. But thank you.
This was a very interesting event to listen to, and honestly, a lot of the things that I thought before have definitely been challenged. I do like it.
Well, we appreciate that. Thanks for coming along.
Great. That's the best news I've heard all day. Somebody who's has food for thought and continuing to think about issues. That's what we like to do, is talk and, discuss new ideas about the Earth. And I think, I really appreciate Corvo inviting us and providing this platform for us to talk to new people. It's been fun.
Yeah, and for all the new people, could we get someone to post the link to the server?
Yeah, please.
Yes, the link to the Flat Earth server is in the announcement. Please check it out. Helioskeptic, I'm gonna post the link to the to your stream as well in the chat, if that's okay for you.
Yeah, please.
Okay.
Please go ahead and do that.
So make sure to
Also,
check our announcement page.
Can I just add
Also, let us know that you come from the Chatterbox, because there is a check-in process, and we'll definitely get you there.
Folks, can I just add, I've got a Google Drive if anybody wants to look more into the Flat Earth sort of evidence that we've got, and a lot more. I'll drop it in the Flat Earth chat just now. It's got gigs and gigs of stuff in it.
Excellent. And Eli, I think you were trying to say something as well, right? I thought I heard Elijah.
If I was, I can't remember.
I think it was me.
Can I put my 2 cents?
Thank you for having.
Go ahead.
Okay.
I want to put in my 2 cents. None of us here are trying to convince you the Earth is a flat or a globe. We're just trying to convince you to think for yourself. So the question of what the shape of the Earth is, some people don't think it's important, but we do. As a lot of people are making, life decisions and base their entire worldview that they're an insignificant speck in the middle of a vast cosmos, and that their lives don't matter and don't mean anything. So if you're going to think that, that's fine, but we think it should be based upon objective empirical evidence and be proven, and not a talking head on TV just telling you it is so. So, I'll have to say.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us on, guys. See you next time. Anytime that you want to do this again, we're ready to do it. That was really fun. Thanks.
I'm out of here. And Epstein didn't kill himself.
You've been listening to 24/7 Flat Earth Discord 2.0. We hope you're having a fantastic day on this flat and stationary plane. If you too would like to join the debate, please click the link below. We'll see you there.